Hey, I'm here with David Finch, and you're watching Rogues Gallery Live. Good evening, everybody. And like I said, welcome to Rogues Gallery Live. This is episode 195. And I've entitled this one, the David Finch Live Draw Spectacular, because this is the thrill of a lifetime to have my GOAT, my favorite artist, Mr. David Finch, is here with us tonight. Welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you. Welcome to Rogues Gallery Live.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, we're so excited to have you, and we're all big, giant fans of yours. We all have various artwork of yours displayed in our own galleries. I do want to introduce everybody to the show. Again, thanks everybody in the chat for joining us this evening. We've got Dan from Wayne Manor, Rocket City.
Hey everybody. Glad to be here. Really excited for this one. Certainly a milestone show. And welcome, David. Great to have you.
Thank you.
We also have Matt Martin from Del Boca Vista.
Yep. Yeah. Glad to be here. Got to see David this past weekend at OAX. So, which if you're an art guy, I would highly recommend you get to go to.
Absolutely. We got Eric B from All Things Art.
Hey guys, awesome to have David here. Dream come true. So thanks so much for doing this, David. Yeah.
And then last but not least, we've got Jeff Delaney from the Secret Sanctuary. Welcome to the show.
Hey everybody. Looking forward to a very fun show. Should be a blast.
Absolutely. And I have to give a hard time to Eric right off the bat, because Eric is the one that started this this insane collection that I have grown on my wall, which I call it the Mugshot Wall. But this is the reason right here. This was what started it all. And I had to show everybody what kicked it off, is that David had done this great remarks in Eric's book. And I fell in love with it so much that I'm like, oh, I've got to get some headshots. And it started out with Scarecrow, and obviously, went to this, which is pretty crazy to see all of the amazing pieces of art that, again, that David has done. But it's truly my favorite thing in my collection. I stare at it every single day. I sit in my chair and just sit here for hours, just looking at the wall. And I can't thank David enough for all of his hard work. And again, we're so excited to have you. I've been pacing back and forth all day, just ready to have you on the show. But anyway, welcome. Again, Matt mentioned OAX. Have you recovered from that crazy weekend? I'm sure getting back and kind of settling in from a con is not always easy.
Yeah, it always takes me a day. And every time I say I don't have a day, like I need to get right back into work, but I took a day. Every time I'm just need to stop doing that to myself and just plan for it.
Yeah,
I would think so. I was going to say, even when we go and we're not drawing and interacting with people, it's exhausting. So I can't even imagine doing that all weekend. But I know you love it, so that makes it worth it, right?
Yeah, it really does. And I love going to every show. OAX is it's a pretty special show. It's just art collectors. So and I know most of the artists there, so many of the collectors there. So it's like a reunion every year. It's a lot of fun that way. And it's nice to have a show that's really focused around the art with collectors that are knowledgeable about the medium.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, anyway, we have questions to ask you tonight, and David, guys, he's going to be drawing live. He is going to be drawing one of my pieces, which I'm excited about because I get to watch him draw live. It's one of my favorite things to do at a convention, just to be able to see, your process, which is just phenomenal. And so we're going to be asking questions as he goes, and then obviously you can ask questions in the chat as well. I already see some questions rolling in, so please feel free to ask. And do you just want to take a couple questions before you get started, or do you want to go ahead and start drawing first? Okay. So my first question is, you've worked on some of the biggest characters in comics. When you look back, what moment felt like your true breakthrough as a professional artist?
There have been a few. My first really big one that was, I thought, I can't believe this is happening, and I made it, was when I took over Cyberforce for Mark Silvestri, and that was early on for me. And the minute I started drawing it, it was a totally different feeling, because now all of a sudden it's not Cyberforce anymore. It's not Mark Silvestri's book. It was mine. And it was a real adjustment period for me to kind of come to terms with the fact that, whatever book I do, no matter what it is, it always ends up being just what I can bring to it. And there were a lot of limitations to what I could do. And I had a great time on it. It was such a learning experience. I think the next book that I did after that was Ascension. And that one did really well. And I felt like I was very proud. And I felt like I'd kind of made it a bit. And anyway, I'm going to go into this whole long thing. I'm sorry. I went to Marvel eventually. And when I went to Marvel, I thought it's all over. I'm like out of my comfort zone and no one's going to care. And Marvel at the time was going through a real change. And there was widescreen format. And that's, the Bryan Hitch inspired look for comics. It was all full script, which I wasn't used to. And so I felt like a fish out of water again. And it took me a while to kind of get my feet under me again. I think it wasn't really until Avengers with Bendis where I felt like, okay, I feel like I made it. And then, you know what? I think it's not a professional career as an artist without crippling self-doubt constantly. So I can't say there's ever a time where I thought, okay, here I am. This is it. Like it always happens. I feel it all the time. I feel so many times like I'm just starting constantly.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the sign of a great artist, is that you constantly want to grow, you constantly want to change and get better. I think that's an awesome drive that you have inside of you.
Well, thank you. And yeah, I never want to stop drawing. It's really the only thing that I know how to do, So, and I love it. I love drawing every day. Some days more than others, obviously, like, there are days where it can be a bit of a slog, like anything, but almost all of the time, even the days where it's a little bit tough, I love doing it. I never want to stop. So it's important to me to always try and be self-critical enough that I can, look at my weaknesses and try to keep growing. I think, you either keep moving forward, hopefully, or you slowly, get worse. And I don't want to be looking back, 10 years later and say, wow, I can't do that anymore. What was I thinking? And so, yeah, it's always trying to keep pushing.
Absolutely. And I just to piggyback a little bit, I'm curious, you mentioned, your love for art. Do you have a preference of doing like the published art, like the stuff where you're working on, like with Skinbreaker right now, which is incredible, versus doing the convention drawings or doing the things where you get to interact with the fans? Do you have a preference on what you prefer, or is it both just so different?
They are different. I have a real tendency to want to draw what I'm not drawing all the time. Like drawing sketches, there's an immediate feedback that is incredibly gratifying to drawing sketches, like at a convention at the table, and hopefully it works out well. And when it does, feeling like I did a good job and the person that I'm drawing for is happy with what I drew, it's a great feeling. Drawing a comic, it's much more involved, and I love it. I would never want to stop being a storytelling artist. There are times I think, I should just do covers. Like, it'd be so much easier. But I think I'd be miserable. I love drawing, comics. So yeah, they are very different. A lot of times drawing sketches can be a little bit more relaxing too, just because I can just go in and just draw. drawing a cover, I've got to do a layout or a few layouts and turn them in, and there's a process, and I love that too, and it's great. But it's nice to just be able to sit down and, like tonight, we're just gonna go, and it's always a lot of fun for me.
Absolutely. Okay. Dan, I'm going to let you go in just a second, but I have to highlight the super chat right here. This is Danny Earls, who we are a big, giant fan of on this channel. He's a big fan of this channel as well. So it's just awesome to have Danny here. And he says, David was one of my earliest and still remains one of my biggest inspirations. I was lucky enough to meet him for the first time in New York Comic Con. An absolute gentleman. So glad he's on the show, guys. Thank you, Danny. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was great to meet you. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
It's been really exciting. He's had so many covers lately for Marvel and DC, and so he's just just on this big rise right now, and so I'm so excited for him.
Yeah, well, that's how it goes. You do the kind of work that fans respond to, and he does, and things happen fast. Faster than I think a lot of artists ever expect. You think you have to work your way up. It's not that kind of business. When people love what you do, you have the kind of career that Danny's having now.
I love it. I love it. All right, Dan, over to you.
All right. I've got a question that's in two parts, Dave. All right. One of them is you're talking about your early part of your career that Chris was asking you about. Curious about what your own perception was of your weaknesses. Like, what did you feel like you had to really overcome to get to that place where you're comfortable with what you were delivering?
When I learned to draw, I really didn't focus on storytelling, at all. So that was a weakness. But you know what? That was actually okay. I focused on anatomy a lot. I tended to focus on the kinds of anatomy, the parts of anatomy that I think, as a fan and maybe as somebody that isn't familiar with the whole body so much, you just, look, a superhero looks cool and they have cool looking arms and like the cool whole chest area, that whole, like, that's, important. And I focused on that stuff. I did not focus on backs or feet or hands enough. I think hands was a real weakness. So I had big weaknesses in my anatomy, and my anatomy was almost entirely what I focused on. So basically everything else, backgrounds, everything. And I was fortunate to start as an intern, which meant I learned on the job, and I learned with Mark Silvestri, kind of over my shoulder. So that was a huge help when I ran into the kinds of things that I just never encountered. And I think the next biggest thing for me was both shadow and rendering. Rendering being all the little lines.
Yep.
Both were really, really hard for me to get my head around. There are rules to all of these things, but they're difficult to really pin down, and it's something that I needed to be able to just internalize. And for me, shadowing, it was a matter of especially looking at Mike Mignola, because his shadowing is so dramatic and also very simple. I feel like I'm always being insulting when I say it's simple. When it comes to drawing, a lot of times when things are simple, they're actually much more complex. It's taking really complex things and boiling them down to their essence. He did it so well that I felt like I could understand it, and that kind of gave me like a hook into shadowing. And I went on from there to other influences, but that was the big kind of breakthrough for me. And I would say I was probably working for about 6 months really before I got that, and then rendering was much longer. It took me quite a while. Image Comics, when I broke in, we were all working in the Jim Lee style. Jim Lee, Will Spartaccio, and it is an amazing style with a lot of horizontal rendering along a form and double lighting. So a light, reflected light from the bottom, a main light source from the top, with kind of a horizontal lighting that would cross hatch, sometimes very large. And it was a real style, and I could not make it work. I couldn't figure it out. I tried, and I beat my head against the wall with that for months and months until I found Simon Bisley, and he had a very simple rendering style that I felt like I could understand. And again, it was a hook. Once I had that, I found Diehl Keown, who interestingly had a lot of the same rendering style that I couldn't do, but so much of what he did, it just made sense to me. So I kind of went from there, and then Travis Tress. Anyway, my whole career, when it comes to anything, whether it's anatomy or backgrounds, or really anything, storytelling, it's always stolen from other artists. It's a great resource of hundreds, thousands of incredibly talented artists that have solved all these problems, and to not take advantage of all the knowledge that's there, I think is kind of crazy. So it was shadowing, it was looking at other artists with rendering. And I would say, just quickly, piece of advice, because I see this all the time, if you're struggling with any particular thing with your work, there are artists that do it really well, and take advantage of that and do studies of it and learn it that way. Trying to learn everything from life is, I think it's admirable, and you can get so much from it. You can get a lot from it. But to draw illustration effectively, like comic style illustration effectively, you have to look at what's out there. And so, if you feel like you have weaknesses in your work, find artists that have strengths in those areas and study them.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Great advice.
Just a very brief follow-up. First of all, thank you for that. Whoa, drop the light. Very brief follow-up. I have to know. So you're well known for talking about your farm on your Monday Night Draw show, like we talked about before we came on air. Do you ever just go back and like sit on your back porch and paint the animals, and that kind of thing, just to relax?
No.
No.
I should, and I keep wanting to. I love painting, especially.
You did do the Chick-fil-A cow, which was really great on Monday Night Draw. That was really great.
True, yeah. And,
and you're very good at painting. I know you give yourself a lot of,
really are.
You're hard on yourself about that, but you're very good at painting.
Thank you very much. We're outside all the time, and I love it out there. Generally, when I'm outside, I'm feeding the horses or cutting the grass, or I'm out doing something, and it's difficult to just find the time to sit and draw. When it gets warm, every morning we have coffee outside and watch the horses run around. Then it's great, especially in the spring. They get very active, and they're just fun to watch. So we're out there enjoying. I'm out there, enjoying them a bit. But it would be nice actually just to take out a sketch pad and draw them. I think I would learn a lot just doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, would love to see.
Aside from learning, like it's a problem for me that I'm either working or I'm trying to learn. And I never just sit down and think, I just want to draw something because it's going to be fun. Like I'm too goal oriented sometimes. And I think I need to just, take a breath and just enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Eric.
All right. David kind of touched on a lot of this during Dan's question. It's a little bit more specific though, because it's character specific, being we're a Batman group. So I'll ask it anyway, I guess. So when you draw Batman, what's the first thing you think about? Is it the mood, the anatomy? Is it storytelling? Something completely different?
It's the mood, for sure. Okay. It's 100% the mood, and there are so many things that make Batman a great character. Of course, like any great character, Spider-Man. Batman is my favorite. I'll have like temporary favorites here and there. I'm sure you know how that goes. But Batman's always kind of my favorite.
You're not burned out yet, right?
Yeah. So it really comes down to mood, and especially for me, it comes down to artists. When I think of Batman, I always think of, and stories too. I think of Long Halloween by Tim Sale, which is a huge influence for me, and just phenomenal story and great stuff. Simon Bisley's Judgment on Gotham, which I'm actually kind of studying right now a little bit, kind of going through that and having fun with it. Jim Lee's Batman, obviously. Mark Silvestri just did a Batman that that came out after I did my last Batman run. I think if I end up doing Batman again, there'll be some of that in there for sure. So Kelly Jones. Yeah, I always think about X-Men's the same thing. X-Men is really what got me into comics. And whenever I think of X-Men, I'm thinking, John Byrne and, Jim Lee again, and Mark Silvestri again, So and Joe Mad, I've got a long list. Carlos Pacheco, such a
going. Speaking of Kelly Jones, I own the vampire piece that you did on your Monday Night Draw, and you were speaking about that, like a lot of his style when he's like hiding behind the cape and stuff was inspired by Kelly Jones.
Yeah, when I started with Batman, this is all the way back in 2010, late 2010, the first time, I really wanted to have a lot more Kelly Jones in there. And as kind of so often that happens with me, I have these ideas, and it's in there. It's, you know, there are elements of it, but it just ends up looking like me, and it's so hard to fight it. I think I need to, you know, kind of embrace it a little bit more. I love Kelly Jones's Batman so much, and I regret that there's not more of that in my Batman work.
Yeah,
he's so good. Love all the artists, and my favorite Batman story is also The Long Halloween. I just absolutely love the art, and I love the storytelling. Obviously, Jeff Loeb, you know, just phenomenal writer. He's just instrumental in all of that. So it's really great to hear all of those influences that you still love today. Love to hear that. So, and you mentioned X-Men. That goes right into Matt's question.
Yeah. You know, you draw on, like, you know, of course, DC heroes. When you draw like a Marvel hero, do you approach it differently or stylistically different or anything? Does it play with your brain a little bit, or do you just go straight into it?
You know, it does. And I don't go into it thinking, okay, I'm drawing Marvel, and so I'm going to approach it in a Marvel way. Not at all. But it really does. And so much of that, you know, it's like the same answer again, truthfully. But when I think of Batman, I think of all the great Batman artists, which inevitably is going to, you know, tilt me more toward DC. And when I think of X-Men, obviously I think of more X-Men artists, and that stuff really just comes out for me. Like Daredevil, a huge favorite of mine. I've only ever been able to do just a little bit with him, but not much. I think I did a couple covers. I haven't done much, but if I ever get the chance to draw him, I'm just trying to draw Joe Quesada, like 100%. Shameless. I don't even care. And when I do Spider-Man, I want it to look like Mark Bagley's Spider-Man. As a matter of fact, years ago, when I was doing Ultimate X-Men, they did a Spider-Man lunch box, and they used my art from Ultimate X-Men with Spider-Man on it because he was crossing over into it. And they sent it to Mark Bagley, and Mark Bagley's wife sent it to me because it wasn't his, it was mine, which is so nice of her to do. But yeah, I was copying him so hard that they thought it was his. So there you go. That's awesome. You know what? Let me get set up to start drawing, because
absolutely.
So it's going to be a little.
And of course, guys, as we go throughout tonight, I see your questions. We've got some super chats as well, and so we will, as David is going, we will, of course, you know, make sure that you have your questions answered. And so just keep posting them, and we'll get to them as we go. So anyway, Dave's working on his camera, and so we will give him just a second, but he's going to be drawing live for us tonight. I just do want to thank everybody here right now. We got 122 people watching, so thank you very much for tuning into Rogues Gallery Live. Again, this is just a dream come true, and now you can see Dave's camera right there. And so he's going to be drawing. Dave, can you still hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep,
okay, good.
Absolutely.
Let me just check my mic settings, make sure that I'm in the right. Yep. Okay, we're good.
Okay,
sorry.
perfect.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be a bit of a thing to move this.
No worries. Well, we can see you crystal clear. So thank you very much.
All right.
Let's see. Do you want to keep going with the questions, or just keep going? Okay.
Did we tell people what he's drawing, or no?
Well, Dave, do you want to tell them?
I'm drawing the Joker fish, which is basically Joker holding a fish like a gun, which is
yeah. So this is one of the ones that I had requested from Dave, and I think maybe you had done like a smaller remark years ago of pointing the Joker fish, and I just kind of fell in love with it. I'm like, okay, I just absolutely love it. And so had to ask you to do that. So I've always loved the Joker fish. I always find it just, you know, so iconic with the Joker. And so really appreciate you drawing that for us tonight. So we can't wait to watch you do this process. So
I have a question.
Oh, yeah.
Where does the Joker fish come from?
It's first appeared in Detective Comics 475, drawn by Marshall Rogers.
How do you know that?
Of course he knows. Of course he knows.
Marshall Rogers was huge. I mean, that series on Detective was absolutely fantastic, and that cover is really iconic.
Did you say who the artist was?
Marshall Rogers.
Marshall Rogers. That's awesome. Yeah, and was it something about like the chemicals, right? That was something that he had poisoned the fish to take out Batman, I think, if I remember right.
Yeah, I can't remember all the details of the story, but boy, that was great stuff.
It's always
That's the kind of
amazing to
thing
me.
that I don't know how you get past it. Like, it's great and it's iconic, but I don't know how, just as a concept, you get past an editor, you know? I could just see you pitching that and the editor going, what?
You got to put a fish with a smile on it. What are you doing? Oh, it's so great. Well, let's go over to Eric with a question.
1 second. Sorry.
Yeah.
What are we moving down the line, right? Okay. Sorry for sorry, my dogs are barking. Skip over me.
Okay. Let's since we just talked to Jeff, we'll go to Jeff Delaney.
Sure. David, when you're designing a splash page, what separates a cool drawing from a truly great storytelling image?
Oh, man. Okay, well, sometimes luck. And obviously skill, because there's some people that do it so incredibly well every single time. So, you know, obviously, but it can be so many different things. It depends on what it is. So if it's a scene in storytelling, it's something that just really captures the drama of the moment. And when you have a great moment, comics aren't comics without writers. And I think, you know, I keep seeing there's this debate, you know, who's most important, artists or writers, and I think they're both important. I think that without a great story, it's nothing, you know. So you need a great story that builds up to that great splash image. And so it's, you know, you want to imagine in any scene, I always think of it as you have like a scene, any scene is it's like a moving thing. And so you want to capture highlights of any scene, whatever it is. You want to capture the most dramatic moment of any given time, and so the splash page is the most dramatic moment in a scene, captured, you know, hopefully in the most dramatic way possible and clear. You know,
Absolutely.
when it comes to a pinup or a cover, usually that it comes down to heroes are aspirational characters. You know, there's ideally, I think the best heroes are characters that we'd like to imagine ourselves being. And if you can really, you know, sell that fantasy to a reader and sell, you know, this is, you know, an iconic moment of, you know, an aspirational character, and really capture that, make them look larger than life and cooler than anything. That's really what makes those, I think, work for me. And that's what I'm doing when I'm drawing those things. I'm like, yeah, this is me right now. I'm totally on top of that building.
That's cool.
That is cool. I love it. Dan, your question.
My question. I'm sorry. I'm just sitting here. Just I was.
I know. I was going to say I don't even want to ask a question. I just want to watch him draw.
I got a little
Yep.
caught up in it.
I'm back if Dan's not ready.
Go ahead, Eric.
Okay, go.
Okay.
Yeah, go to
Yeah,
Eric.
I'm sorry about that too. All right, so I was actually speaking with Chris before the show, and it was funny. I was like, I never really see David doing pencils anymore. It seems like he just goes straight to the pen, but now you're sitting there doing pencils, so that defeats that thought I had. But going to the question, so your anatomy and dynamic posing are considered, I guess, legendary. So what does your daily practice routine look like now compared to when you first started out? Has anything changed?
No.
Love it.
When I'm really working on weaknesses in my work, I tend to try and take just about an hour, and it's always time I don't have, but it's necessary. So I try to take a little bit of time just to do studies and just, you know, focus on things that I know need to be better. When you know, obviously I get pretty busy at times, and I just jump right into the page and just start going. So it depends. I'm going to say truthfully, usually I'm behind usually. And so I just need to jump right into it and get started. And I tend to lay out my pictures just like this. So just on the board, I don't really do layouts like unless I have to. Like anytime I do a cover, I always have to do little layouts to show for approval. But if I don't have to do that, I just lay things out on the board, and it's very loose. So it might seem daunting. You've got a whole page and to lay the whole thing out at a large size. But really, I'm just using really simple block shapes and then building my detail on top of them. So it stays actually pretty simple.
Okay. Do you still keep like your pencil work, or do you just ink right over it when you do like your published stuff?
I ink right over it. I'm actually doing pencils again for the first time in a little while.
Just say on Skinbreaker, right? You're doing pencils on all of that and then inking right over the published pieces, right? I mean, there's no
some artists
involved.
Well, I'm making it myself. Skinbreaker, for the most part, I did loose pencils, like very loose, and then just went in with ink, and so there's whiteout all over those pages because I was erasing with whiteout.
I was gonna say, some artists like to save their pencils and they'll scan it, make a copy of it. This way they'll have the pencils also, and then they ink over the copy stuff. So that's what I was curious.
Yeah, no, I'm way too lazy. I just
Oh, I love it. And so, yeah, I mean, it feels like, there's a lot of, if you look back at, I'm always looking at your art, and I'm always looking at pieces that other people have in their collections and stuff that you've done at conventions and things over the years. And, you go back to like 2016, 2017, a lot of that is, pencil work. When did it kind of translate from those to going like at a convention to inking everything? Have you always liked to do both?
No, I solely penciled for years and years. And it was around 2017 when I started Skinbreaker. I was inking it with a quill and with a proper brush, like basically traditional tools. And I am terrible with a quill. It's a hard tool to use, and it was slow. It also doesn't work well at conventions. Pulling out a jar of ink and a quill is I'm sure there's some artists that do it. I can't do it, and it's a mess. So. Most of my tools I always find from other artists, like Poscas, which everybody knows about these things now.
Mm-hmm. They're fantastic.
Everybody uses it. I still have paint on my hand so I was doing Simon Bisley studies today. So I'm still covered in a little bit of paint.
It's awesome.
These I learned about from Mark Silvestri. My Tombos, and this is a Tombow here, which I'll be using fairly soon. Mm-hmm. These do a good thin to thick. And so they act a lot like a quill or a brush, and I have so much more control over it. And I also, the biggest problem with a quill, I could never draw with ink, because a quill you can only drag one way. If you reverse it, it'll catch the page and it'll splatter and make a mess. And I don't have the control with a brush to be able to just draw with it. Whereas with this, I can. So that really made it much more possible for me to be able to just do my work just with ink and do it at conventions. And once I started getting a comfortable kind of rhythm with it, I started inking a lot more. And I like doing inked commissions more, because pencil ones, generally speaking, I either have people come up and they want it inked later, or they get it inked by somebody else. And usually my pencils at conventions can be a little bit looser, and I saw a lot of inks that I was very unhappy with. So yeah. And I kill two birds with one stone and just make sure it's inked.
Although from a sales perspective, you could sell the pencil art and then also sell the inked art.
Well, I do it all on one page. Like it's like this here, I'm kind of penciling. I'm throwing it in just to make sure that it's not going to be terrible live. So, but I'll be inking right over this soon. So the one thing I can do, and I do often, when I paint, ideally, I've got a printer and I scan the inks. I always ink my paintings first, and then I print out the inks on paper and then paint it. And so I have a black and white and a color, which is nice.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, what I really fell in love with your work is your ink work. I love your shadows. I love how much just intricacy you put into all of these pieces. It's just mind blowing. And one of my favorite things too is whenever you add the battle damage, like you add the torn elements, and it's just, I really feel like, when you look at a piece, you're like, you instantly know, okay, that's a David Finch piece. And I love your inking. I love your shadow, and I can't say enough good things about it. I just absolutely adore it. Absolutely.
Thank you. It's like the Star Wars philosophy, everything looked lived in. And so it just had like a realness to it, a reality to it that a lot of sci-fi kind of before Star Wars didn't. I don't know if Star Wars came up with that, but whatever, that's kind of what I associated with. So
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And even, you know, I don't know if you have a chance to see the statue behind me, but I've got the Batman versus Batman Who Laughs from Prime 1 that they did, and they really captured your battle damage. There's, you know, the areas all throughout the suit that's, you know, directly from the art, which is really neat.
oh wow, I didn't even know there was a statue of that.
Really?
Oh, well,
Oh my God.
well, here it is, right here. So it's obviously based on your cover. Man, they need to send you one, basically, is what they need to do. But yeah, it's one of my new favorites. This is a quarter scale piece from Prime 1.
They did a beautiful job.
It's just absolutely incredible. And I'll send you some photos or something if you want to see it a little bit closer up. But they have basically they took your background and made it the base.
Oh right, yeah, because I had a big skull behind it, right?
Yeah, it's got the skull here, and then all the skulls and all the bone fragments coming off the piece.
Wow.
So they just took your image and just kind of
And bats too. I mean, you know what? So it's my drawing, but then they did so much with it. Like, what an amazing job they did. It's incredible.
That's awesome. So we'll talk a little bit more about statues as we go, but I definitely want to make sure you saw that. Let's see. I guess we'll go over to back to Jeff Delaney, or no, back.
No, you went to
sorry,
nice
Dan.
to get the-
Yeah. So my question, getting back to the early years of your career, Dave, if you could give yourself advice, you know, younger you, just getting started, advice relative to the industry, you know, like a word of caution, what would you tell yourself? What would you think would be the most impactful thing you could tell yourself?
To not quit when it gets hard. And I'm forever grateful that I didn't, but I felt like I wanted to. And I saw so many people actually do quit.
Wow.
Very, very talented artists, especially working in a studio. I was a top cow for a long time. And there would be talented, incredibly talented artists that would come in. And it was a pressure environment. It was a very supportive environment, but it's pressure because you go from being the greatest artist around that you ever see to all of a sudden being confronted with, you know, work that's just, I remember when I started, Jim Lee was drawing that day, and watching Jim Lee draw, and Travis Tress was there. And I mean, I could go on. There's so many incredible artists. J. Scott Campbell was there, Brandon Peterson and Joe Benitez and Mark, obviously Mark Silvestri. And I couldn't compete with it. And I went into it thinking I'm like the greatest artist of all time, for sure. Like I totally thought that, you know, and it was a hard reality check, and it was a long road to getting comfortable. And I didn't have options because I am a high school dropout. So, you know, I wonder if maybe I could have done something else if the pain of not being who I thought I was artistically would have been too much and I would have quit. I like to think not, but anyway, yeah, that would be my number one piece of advice is it will get hard. No matter how good you are going in, it will beat you. And, you know, you'll get a script and you just won't know what to do and you get exposed. It happens to everybody. And you just have to ride through that and it gets easier. And such a rewarding job. It's worth the initial pain. But yes, I think that would be a piece of advice I would want.
Well, good advice. And I think good advice all the way around.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Never give up.
Yeah.
Jeff Delaney.
Sure. David, the comic industry has changed so much since you started. What's one change you think has benefited artists, and what's one that has made things more difficult for the artist?
Yeah, you know, so there have been a few things that have actually been great for not just artists, but for writers. And I was very torn on it when it happened. This is only a few years ago, but we started charging for signatures. And it was a controversial thing, which I certainly understand, but it's made the books more valuable. And it's such a great source of revenue for writers that never had that at all, for older artists that maybe aren't working as much now. Mm-hmm. So that, you know, just from a artist survival standpoint, that is a big one. It really is. Mm-hmm. The art community, collecting community is much stronger than it ever was. And that is a great deal for artists. So just from a business standpoint, just, fan engagement has made this a much easier road artistically, from working in the business standpoint. Okay, I'm going to say all my editors used to call on the phone, now I only ever get emails, and it's way too easy for me to just ignore emails. I wish they would just call again. Like, I never look at email, and yeah, that's a tough one. When I was at Marvel, they would call me every day. And so, yeah, I do miss that. And I think that would be maybe beneficial, for artists. I mean, we're all a little crazy, and yeah, I think it would be good. We all work full script now. DC was that way. Marvel didn't used to be. It's more constraining, but it's also, when you work with a writer that really knows what they're doing, it's a huge help. And ideally, you still have freedom. I always have freedom to make changes if I want to. And the writers that I work with, I've been fortunate to work with writers that are very generous. But it's a different thing than, when I started, where artists were really in charge. So we would do whatever we wanted. So, if I couldn't draw a helicopter, I would just change it. And then I got to Marvel, and you can't get away with that anymore. And so this is a long time ago now, but that was a big change for me. I think there are a lot of differences in the business for sure. I don't really understand most of them, just because for me, I get a script, I wake up in the morning, I lay out my page, I draw, and it just has not changed. Truthfully, I still do exactly what I always did.
Love it. Eric.
I am here. Sorry. All right, moving along. All right, what are we up to? 10?
Yep.
Yeah. 10.
Okay. All right. Yeah. You caught me off guard like that. All right. So with social media giving artists direct access to fans, how has that changed the way you think about building a career? Do you get contacted on social media about, or is it more like in the conventions? I know conventions, you probably get approached by a lot of artists.
Yeah,
advice and stuff.
I don't really do social media too much. I post on Instagram sometimes. I always forget. I stay away from it. What I would say, we have a very diverse fan base, and diverse in every possible way, and including in opinions. And I think that social media, it can be a bit of a chance to try and now somehow dictate opinions to fans, which I think is always a big mistake when I see people doing that. And I think, it's disrespectful to fans. I think, we're there. I'm here as an artist trying to provide a product that hopefully people will enjoy. It's not for me to tell people how they should live their lives or any of that. And I think that happens kind of too much. I think that's a negative side of social media. It's just too easy to be negative, so I don't like to see that. And for the most part, I avoid it because of that.
Okay.
Matt.
Yeah, David, has there ever been a character that you connected with on a deeply personal level, where drawing them felt like therapeutic or revealing? Like if you're mad at the world one day, do you go to like one character specifically, or?
I would say I have a few. I couldn't really point to. I know people that really identify with Spider-Man, or really identify with a particular character. There are aspects of characters that I think I really identify with, and they're a universal, I guess, truths about the human condition. It sounds very pretentious. So for me, I can have anger issues at times, so I like Moon Knight because he's crazy. My favorite version of Moon Knight, he's just a total nutcase, and that can be a lot of fun sometimes. Okay, actually, I have an answer. I'm going to say Wolverine.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I always feel a little bit ridiculous because I'm nothing like Wolverine. I don't know how I can. But as far as like a character that I identify with the most, I think he's so popular because he's a cool looking character, but he really became Wolverine when they kind of introduced the fight in himself between like his savage side and his more noble side, and he has no pretension. He doesn't preach to anybody. He just and he's not a moral gray area character at all at his best. When he's written properly, he is very consistent and a hard moral code, and I like that in a character.
Awesome.
And he fights with it himself over it. It's not an easy thing. So yeah.
Gonna jump in with a super chat. This is from Michael Gardner. Says, just wanted to say hi, David. Thanks for the amazing art and teaching it to others also. Hopefully one day I'll be able to have some OA from you one day. Thank you for the super chat.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. It's good to see you on here, and that would be great. I hope so.
That's right. Just reach out to Jason at Essential Sequential.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
that's right. I want to give a shout out to Jason. We were talking. He had a long drive today. Invited him on the show too, and he was a little bit wiped. So again, I want to thank Jason for arranging this tonight. And again, he just is fantastic with getting a hold of artists. And if you want to get any sort of commissioned work, check out Essential Sequential. Phenomenal to work with. So anyway, let's see. We are to, I think, some statue questions we'll go to Dan next.
Yeah. Actually, I have a follow-up question to what David was talking about in terms of having to follow more strictly to the scripts, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the power that the writers have now. Do you think any of that, David, comes from the success of the MCU and how really good writing led, and storytelling across however many movies in the MCU? Do you think that kind of translated over to the books?
Truthfully, no. I think that it happened in the books first, and it was Joe Quesada that really he saved Marvel, I think, by doing it. He's an artist, and such an image kind of kinetic visual artist, but he's also an incredible storyteller and with a lot of respect for writing. And I think he recognized that my favorite period of comics, I love the image stuff, but there was too much of a disregard for the writing, and I think books really suffered. And I think a lot of fans felt alienated. That we went from the 80s where you had New Mutants, Brett Blevins' run, Thor with Walt Simonson. I could go on, and there's so many great runs. All the stuff from Chris Claremont, it's just incredible stuff. And that kind of was gone for a little while, and it was so artist dominant. I think we all suffered for it. When Joe Quesada got to Marvel, he really changed all that. He brought in Mark Millar and Bendis and so many others, and they really changed what Marvel was about. And when they started doing the Marvel movies, they had Marvel writers in the room. They were consulting with them. And I think that those movies wouldn't have been what they are without that. And then they stopped doing that. And I would love to see them kind of return to that, because every once in a while I see there's like an attitude of, if you're a fan of the books, then they don't want you on the movie, because I don't know why, truthfully. But I think it's such a huge mistake,
Giant mistake.
Yep.
Giant. We all feel that way.
Yeah, I'd love to see, Mark Millar and Bendis and Scott Snyder. And I see that at DC, it seems like they're really doing it right. They've got Tom King consulting, and I think that's an incredible thing. He's a great writer. There's so many. James Tynion, like it's a wealth of phenomenal writing talent. And knowledge about the source material, and I feel like they've, over the last few years, kind of seen what happens when you stray too far, and it seems like they're course correcting back to respecting the source material more, which I think is great.
Good.
So something we've never really understood with the movies is how like the costumes are not the same and the storylines are not the same. Like, why don't just make a story like The Long Halloween or make it like Hush or whatever. It doesn't make any sense because those stories are timeless and they're so beloved. I don't know why Hollywood feels like they need to mess it all up, but that's just our opinion,
I always figured they change it so this way you don't know how the story is going to unfold and how it ends. Like this way it's something different.
That's actually that makes a lot of sense, and I can't argue with that. As that's a very valid reason. So fair enough.
Somebody asked earlier, what is your favorite Batman movie? Do you have a favorite?
Okay, yes and no. My favorite Batman movie is the Christopher Nolan movies as directed by Tim Burton, which never happened, but that's what it is.
Okay, all right. That sounds actually perfect. Actually, I love that.
And I really like the new one. I only actually just watched it because it has the Twilight guy, and I thought, what do they think? Anyway, so I didn't watch it.
The Twilight guy.
I just watched it, and man, I was so wrong. That guy is incredibly good, isn't he? I thought
he's a great actor.
We all love that film, and we're all very much the noir. We love that, that kind of gritty Gotham City. And it's just that it just really captures it. And it's like I love the Nolan films, but to me, the newer film is even more real, more based in reality, which I think makes it even creepier, kind of, because it had kind of a, like the movie Seven vibe or, something like that.
Yes, and it was a detective story.
Oh, yes.
For sure.
Very, very much so. I think a majority of us on this panel, at least, we really like, or at least I'm speaking for myself, but like I like the Batman stories where it's more of just detective stories in Gotham. I don't really like when the flying superheroes around Batman, particularly. They have their own place, in my opinion, but I really think those movies capture kind of more of that Gotham feel, which is, I think a lot of Batman fans really appreciate.
For sure. I'm sure you guys have seen the Penguin show.
I was just about to ask you that. Yeah, okay.
Fantastic.
That was really good.
So good.
I hear about it sometimes, but I'm surprised I don't hear about it more. I couldn't believe how good that was. Yeah. It's incredible.
I'm hoping they do a second season. I've heard maybe there might be the possibility, but
they said he hates putting on that makeup and everything, the prosthetics.
Yeah, I would too. I'm sure he's getting paid handsomely, though. I would hope.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right, Dan, go ahead.
All right, you want me to get back to our regularly scheduled program?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so in the context of statues, being a statue collecting channel, the question is, David, so someone like yourself, you're so well known for your dynamic poses and how powerful you make the characters look, and in two-dimension action, it's just really, really incredible. What are some of the common mistakes? Well, one, do you see those things? Obviously, Chris was showing a statue just a few minutes ago where you were pretty happy, it seems, with how that came out. But what are some of the mistakes that you see artists make when trying to convey, a powerful pose and dynamic poses and those kinds of things?
When it comes to a single figure, just a single image, and not like a group of storytelling panels, I would say the most common mistake is not allowing a flow of action to go through a whole body. And that's really where you get power. Like here, let me show you what I mean, because I can't ever explain anything at all, but I can show you. So
I love when you do this.
If I draw a guy and he's standing there and he throws a punch, it's fine, but there's no power. Now, this is a caricature of what somebody would do. I mean, nobody would do this, but all of his power is just pinned from his arm here, and there's no follow through. Whereas if I draw his whole body, let's move this out of the way. I'm painting right now. I got paint stuff all over my desk.
It's like Rock'em Sock'em Robots. I just throw the punch.
It kind of did look like that, yeah.
Might not be the ideal angle because I'm covering his face, but
I see.
So I'm pulling this arm back and swinging all of my energy through this hand. I'm going to put some weight on my front leg and then draw his whole body down through his leg, and really try and get that energy up through the fist. And that's what really creates action. And when artists don't have a grasp of that, and again, this is a specific example and it's a bit of a caricature, but the fact is that it's the same concept applies for any kind of a pose. Whatever it is, you want your action to flow all the way from your toes all the way up through your hands, or whatever it is. Like, you always have a focal point of energy, and you want to flow that energy through the whole body. That's what gives you a dynamic pose versus something that can be stiff. And I mean, we all make stiff poses sometimes. We certainly do. Every time I look at any one of my books, it doesn't matter what it is, I cringe at some of them. I'm like, oh, I just didn't really work. And I thought, oh, that was so good at the time, but I can see where, and there are times I think, well, that means I've gotten better, but I don't know that that's always true. I think sometimes you see it with fresh eyes.
Makes a ton of sense.
It sure does. I got a question about, we were talking about the statues a little bit earlier on, and there was a time that we had Jason Fabok, who you were very familiar with. We were big fans of him on the channel. Had a chance to spend some time with him in Orlando, and asking him about some of the things. We see his work at like Hobby Lobby and different places, and he's like, I'm not involved in any of that. And you said you had never seen the statue before, which is crazy to me, because you would think that they would want to involve you in the process. Is that ever frustrating when you see stuff like this and you're like, oh, it would have been nice if they asked me, or if they asked me to be involved? I know, like, specifically you were sort of involved, at least with the XM Studios Sanity piece, which I know you have on your back desk there. And it's just a phenomenal piece. And that started out as a drawing just like this. And so is it something you want to be a part of, or are you okay with Jim just being like, okay, well, this is something I created and they can go do whatever they want with it? Or would you rather have more input?
I would prefer that they do whatever they want with it, truthfully. The Sanity piece, it was a lot of work. I had to do front and side of each character's face and draw the statue from multiple angles, and it was a lot. Wow. And it was a lot of fun, but it was a lot to take in. And I should say, Prime Studios, I did talk to them a little bit, and they did want to collaborate on something, and I really wanted to do it, and I wasn't able to find the time to do it. So I do remember that. So I certainly wouldn't blame them for
We're I don't know if you. So they also did Chris the Courage one, the Superman, and the Wonder Woman. Dave, were you involved in those? They were also diorama pieces like Batman, but there was one. It was just all Superman and villains, and then they did another one that was Wonder Woman and all her villains.
Yes, I did those with turnarounds and everything.
Okay.
It's really interesting, because I just assumed they just went off the one image. So it's really interesting that you got to do this, like you said, the side profiles and things like that. I bet that was very time consuming.
It was, yeah. And the problem is I love doing it, and it's fun to collaborate, and it's just always at any given time, and I'm in the same position right now. It never changes. I've got kind of 3 different things that I should be doing right now, and they're all due kind of now. It's always the same way, and so I start those kinds of projects, and I want to be more involved, and I just can't. I will be right back. I'll tell you where I'm going. I need fish fry reference. If I just draw the fish out of my head.
Fish reference.
You got it. I love it. That's awesome. I mean, I'm in love with this already. Like, I was in love with the pencils when he was drawing. I'm like, oh my god, this is so cool.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Well, if he needs a fish reference, Chris, I sent that Detective 475 cover to our chat.
I thought you were going to put on your Mr. Fish mask or something.
Oh, yeah, you do have the
Don't
Mr.
do it.
Fish. That's right. Well, let me see if I can pull that image off there. Computer's going to be slow, of course, but let's see if I can get it. Talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, I'm still caught up in that the whole statue thing that they don't reach out to him about that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, they did. This is what I want to say. They did. Yeah, it's really more on me, and I never checked email, so I mean, there's only you can only expect.
Well, no, we've heard from other artists that they don't reach out to them either, so they probably didn't contact you and just said, okay, let's, I don't know if we want to use the term steal, but let's take his work and make money off of it.
Well, we've talked to maybe 3 or 4 artists, well known artists in the industry that have drawn Batman, and they've been really unhappy that they weren't consulted or they weren't involved more. They didn't get a statue from them. So it's just been interesting to see. It would be nice, at least, we're massive fans of not only the 2D art, but also the 3D art as well, which is the focus of this channel. And so, it would be nice if the companies would involve the artists a little bit more, at least, because, you guys are the ones that created it.
Yeah, sure. It would. I'm always a little torn because it would be nice. At the same time, there are benefits that come from drawing Batman or X-Men or whatever that I could focus on. I don't own the character, and they sell shirts and different things, and I never see anything out of that. But there's so many things that I do see money from, and I get to see my work out there, and I know what I'm getting into when I'm drawing Batman or whatever it is. There are a lot of great things that come from that, and so it's hard for me to sweat it too much.
You mentioned you don't own the character, but do you own the art? Like when you are working for Image or Marvel or DC and you submit it, I know a lot of times you'll scan stuff in. Do you own that piece of art that you worked on, or a piece like this? Were you the owner of it, even though you're giving it to somebody else? Is that how that works?
It is, yeah, and that's not always the case. There was a time when all of the art would go to Marvel or DC or whatever, and it would never get returned. And it was I want to say Gil Kane, I think, that really kind of forced them to start returning artwork. And so I never faced that. The whole time I've been working, I always got my art back. And yeah, the fact is that I could draw whatever man, and it's worth something maybe to me, but not really necessarily to somebody else. And it's a fact that when I'm drawing Batman, I'm also taking advantage of years and years of other artists and other writers' work and what they've done to make the character what it is. And so yeah, it's, what am I trying to say? I think I'm trying to say that working on these characters, there are a lot of reasons to be grateful, and I think it's kind of easy to focus on what we may not be getting. There's so much that we get from it.
You mentioned just the history of the characters and the history of the artists. Do you feel that weight, of that responsibility to say, this character's been around for 80 years? Does that ever weigh on you at times, or in the past, maybe, probably, especially when you were starting out, probably?
Yeah, it does. Now, as an artist, I think it weighs on me a whole lot less than it does for a writer. Because you're stewarding a character for fans that either new fans or fans that have been around for a long time. And I think that coming onto a project and deciding, this character is going to be, this now, I'm going to completely break with who they are and what they're all about because this is the kind of story I want to tell is a terrible move. And I hate it when I see that. I think, you can angle a story a certain way, but these characters, it'd be like watching a Star Trek episode where, all of a sudden, whatever Data is a totally different kind of person. And, I think there's a responsibility there to make sure that the characters are who they are and they stay consistent, and artistically too. but I definitely feel it less than I think a writer would. What I feel more is it's not so much a responsibility. I feel an intimidation because any run on Batman, you're going to automatically be compared with Neil Adams, for instance, and it's just an impossible comparison. So.
And then you've had also some chances to, create your own characters. The one that comes to mind, of course, Batman-wise, White Rabbit. She's had kind of a resurgence lately, which has been really kind of cool to see. What does it mean to you to have a character that's, just yours?
It's very cool. I could not believe that White Rabbit ever appeared anywhere. I would have bet anything that wouldn't happen. So I was shocked. It's awesome. I'm thrilled. I really thought my best bet would be with Gotham and Gotham Girl. Those are Tom King characters. But I got to design them, and I thought, they're such cool characters. It's such a great story. I thought it was really, really interesting, and I thought, and it still could. I mean, we're not finished yet, so like history hasn't ended yet, so it could happen.
That's right.
I'd love to see it. It's not just characters. Honestly, going to like a movie premiere, which when they bring us to movie premieres, man, that is so amazing, because like we draw comics and I love it. We're a relatively small audience, whereas movies are such a huge thing, and going and seeing like just the spectacle and the pageantry, the whole thing, and feeling like a part of it, it's pretty awesome. And then, watching a movie and feeling like, what, I can see where they picked up a few things from the book, whether it's a character, and that's pretty rare for me. I haven't really designed a lot of characters, or it's, a scene. There was a scene in Avengers, I think Endgame, or the other one, the last two ones. Anyway, they had Ronin, and that whole scene it reminded me of what we did in New Avengers, and I thought, wow, look at that. It's like so much cooler than what I did, but it's up on screen, and I had like a part of it. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's got to be a great feeling. Yeah. I mentioned White Rabbit, so I've on my villain wall, I've got basically, after Calendar Man and Talon, I've got one more slot. And everybody kind of weighs in on the channel of who they think that last slot should be. And I kind of narrowed it down to like, Jeremiah Arkham, Black Mask, Talia al Ghul. And everybody says, oh, you should get White Rabbit as the last one, because David created that character. So I'm still trying to figure out which one to do. I don't know which one you'd prefer out of those four, but I still have to decide at some point which one that last one's going to be.
I'm not giving an opinion.
Well, a lot of people said, again, I love your shadow work. So like everybody's like, well, Black Mask would be really cool. Is something like that hard to do, where it's like, a skull like that's mostly black, or is it easier where you have like just a light source type of thing?
Or even Court of Owls, where it was just like a white mask. I think you were discussing it doing as well.
Okay, I'm going to say I think the White Mask, pretty easy to draw, I would think. I've never drawn it, but I would think it'd be pretty easy. The Black Skull, I also think would be pretty easy. I could be wrong, because I've also never drawn that. So, but I think it would be pretty easy. When skulls are hard for me, Ghost Rider is so hard because it's internally lit. At least to be right, it is. It never looks right if it's not. And man, that is so beyond me. And I've got like a skull up on my shelf that I can use as reference, but I can't light it like I think Ghost Rider should look. And I don't want to just look at a movie and copy that,
So, my wall has a lot of pretty obscure characters that I would imagine that you don't get asked to do very often. Is that fun for you whenever it's something different than it's not just the Moon Knight and the Batman and the Spider-Man? Do you enjoy the weird oddball requests? Like Viva Speaker says, David, what is your most off the wall commission request? Do you like those off the wall ones?
Yes and no. And so I do. Like my favorite of the ones that I drew for you was
Hugo?
Yes.
Hugo Strange, right?
No. Oh yeah. Okay. That one too. Yeah. It's It's the guy that killed Batman's parents.
Oh, Joe Chill. Yep.
Yeah, that was my favorite one to do, and that was such a weird one. But I had time to really sit there and just enjoy it, and that's when those ones are like the biggest. They always are the most fun. It's something totally different. I can just have fun with it and just try something.
I just pulled it off the wall so everybody could see it. It's so good. And I was blown away whenever Jason sent it to me that weekend, and it was last summer. And I can't thank you enough for this. This is just phenomenal. And I would imagine I'm probably the only one that's ever asked for that character to be done, would be my guess.
Well, I mean, I certainly couldn't say, but I've never done one. And I would imagine they're probably the only one. And yeah, it was a blast. I had so much fun with that. At the same time, there are times at conventions and it's 6:00 and the show ends at 6:30 and somebody comes up and says, artist choice, I just want you to have fun. And I'm like, oh man, just let me draw Batman or something. So, yeah, I'm not going to lie. There are times when that's not the most ideal thing, but yeah.
It's like a character that you've done a lot, like Batman. Is it just second nature because you just know how to block it? You know how to, figure out the light source or the pose. Is that just easier?
Which is also a problem because I have a way that I can just draw Batman and there you go. And there's Batman and I've done it so many times and it's fine. But I don't want to be just drawing the same Batman picture, of course, over and over again. And so the challenge is now, at a convention, it's 6:00 and somebody needs to finish by 6:30 and I've been there all day. It's going to generally be something I'm more comfortable with. And so I'm not going to really go too nuts. But my preference, it's nice to try something different. Like there are these toys. They're not really statues, I guess, technically, at all. But they're Batman toys that are posable and they have like a cloth body and a really cool like Dark Knight kind of head, like Frank Miller looking head. I got a couple of those, and when my last Batman run, I was using that head as reference, and I found it was strange enough. I couldn't use it one for one, but it really informed the way that I was drawing Batman, and I just had so much fun with it. It was a different approach than what I had been doing, before, and so it's nice to try and be a little bit more creative and not just draw the same version over and over.
So do you have the most oddball request that you can think of?
What was that one at OAX this weekend? It looked very odd. There was a picture of somebody.
Was it the cow?
Maybe that was it. Yeah, I think it was something with like an animal or something.
Yeah.
That cow would definitely, that's right up there. So yeah, it was so much fun. I still don't know what I was thinking doing that on Monday Night Draw. Cause I was thinking, wow, like, I don't know how this will turn out. I've never drawn a cow and no idea. And then Eric guessed. So we were painting in my room that night, and Eric Guest is EM Guest, an incredible oil painter. It does all kinds of stuff for Marvel, like a lot of Star Wars stuff, but really everything nowadays. And DC, Batman covers. He did a Skin Breaker cover. It's not out yet. Anyway, he did his version of the cow. And it's the cow in stalks with the udders sticking out. And it was awesome. Like, yeah, he kicked my butt, but
it was so much fun. And you around that same time, you did the Christmas episode and got to draw some really great Charlie Brown stuff, which was really fun.
That was really fun.
Yeah, I love doing those. And I'm always a little bit torn because I think, okay, I know what people are here to see me draw. And when I draw stuff like that, I worry, like, is this, am I going to come back next time and we're just going to have no audience because people are just sick of me drawing?
Well, believe me, people keep tuning in. They love to see you back. And it's, again, just be able to watch the process. It doesn't matter what you're drawing. It's just really fun. And you're such a natural teacher. I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm an educator. I'm a school counselor. And I've been, in that field for 20 years. And I see so much of that in you where you're just a natural. You want to teach, you want to show people how to do the process. And so I really enjoy Monday Night Draw, not only for the drawing, but just also, for the tutorials and, just you taking the time out to, show other artists how it should be done or how it, could be done differently. And so just as a fan, I appreciate that as well.
Well, thank you. It is my favorite to do. I'm always so happy when somebody has a question about I've got this drawing I need to finish, and I'm under the gun, and I know Meredith's tired, and but I really love doing the little tutorials, especially when they work. There are times, I'll start and I think, okay, I know exactly what I want to explain, and it's just the drawing totally falls apart, and I don't have time to fix it, and So. But
awesome.
honestly, that's part of the fun too. It's I don't know what it is. Like it's like some people like to gamble. It's not really my thing. I really love just going put myself out there, and you take the risk that this drawing could just totally fall apart, and and not work, and that it's exhilarating. I really do enjoy it.
Have you ever got to a commission like to this point and we were like, you just start over? You're just like, I don't like it. Have you ever done that?
Oh, much further.
Wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, since this one's for you, if that was happening, I would stop. I would have no choice. I want it to be nice. So I would stop, and we'd all be stuck.
We'd all be stuck.
Well, thank you.
But yeah, especially it doesn't happen with sketches as much as it happens with especially covers. My first Batman cover that I ever did, it was the cover for Batman 700, and it drives me nuts that generally speaking, people say they like that cover the most. I'm like, man, I did that one first. Like everything I've done since then, I have not been able to top that one. For what fan opinion.
What bothers you about that?
It bothers me that I always like to think, I'm getting better, and the newer stuff is going to be better than what I did before. And it just hasn't been the case. I haven't been able to do something that's resonated as much as that one. I'm so glad that it did, because, having anything that resonates isn't a guarantee. But
how about we talk about that incredible Absolute Batman cover? It's one of my favorites. I absolutely love what you did with that piece.
Oh, well, thank you very much. That one, that was easy. I just felt I really like bulky, crazy characters like that, and I don't know, it just felt natural. I did that one fast.
You did a great commission of him this weekend. I saw people post, and that turned out really nice.
Well, thank you. Yeah, he's such a fun character to draw. You know who's even more fun to draw than Absolute Batman? Absolute Joker.
Oh yeah. And you did that live on the Whatnot stream.
Yeah,
first drawing of him.
Talk about a running the risk of failing live. Never use Poscas or whatever. I think it was Poscas, colored Poscas. That was so much fun.
It turned out great.
I have so many color markers now, and I thought, at OAX I'm going to do tons of these, but nobody was asking for them. I don't even think we advertised that I had it. And my sketch. So what we did is we sold. I don't know. We gave out tickets. So you come in the morning and you get a half hour or a 15-minute slot, depending on what you get. And so then you have basically an appointment.
Yeah, people. I saw a number of people comment that they felt like that was a really good system.
I think so. Nobody had to wait, because it's such a problem. You've got a show with all these great artists, and you basically end up picking the artist that you want to get a sketch from, and it makes it impossible to get everything else you want. And I never liked that. I just didn't know how to get around it. Well, this seems like it's working. So it's a bit of a high stress day, because I know the next appointment's here and I need to get to it. And so I'm kind of scrambling all day, but I think it worked well. But it also meant that I didn't have the chance to stop and do anything in color or anything like that. So,
yeah.
Next show.
That's right. There's always going to be another show, right? That's right. I want to get to a couple of these super chats from earlier in the show. We got Lane Kramer, $5 super chat, says, so Mr. Finch, if you're able to talk to the guy who knows a guy with statue companies, they should talk to a statue company for DC White Rabbit statue. Lane wants a White Rabbit statue, it sounds like.
I'm right there with you. That would be amazing. That'd be
awesome.
She's a bit of a product of a different time, She's a little risque.
Yeah,
Which is I'm so surprised to see her crop up again. I thought, okay, this one's going to be a bit of a dustbin of history kind of character. So I'm so glad that they're finding a way to make her work. And
did you see her running out of the building on the Peacemaker?
Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty great.
Yeah. That's when you feel like you made it. I always said, it doesn't matter. I don't care. I don't need the. I designed. You know what? It's so ridiculous to even say this. I designed Maria Hill from Avengers, in the sense that in the script it said a woman with dark hair, stern looking, in a shield costume. So if you can call that designing a character, I designed it.
Yeah.
And it was still cool, but White Rabbit was much cooler because it really is. It's a character that I designed, and it's fun.
Awesome. Lane also had said, you're my bucket list to get an artwork drawn of. So hopefully down the road, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully.
Let's see. We also had a recent. I don't want to skip anybody here. VDub Super Chat said, last time I remember seeing Gotham and Gotham Girl was Task Force Z, and Hank Gotham was killed off again.
Why?
Absolutely. We got John Relics, Super Chat. Thank you very much. Love your work, David. I'm unable to travel, so that prevents me from going to a show. How would I go about getting a commission from you? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the question too. If you contact Jason Schechter at Essential Sequential, what we always do, I don't really do commissions at home. I never have time, so I don't do that. But what we do is we take a list that I have with me at every show, and every once in a while a show is just really slow, and then I have a pre-list that are just sketches that people are waiting for. So the wait is longer, but I do ultimately always get to them. So that is totally a way to go. And it works. I would ultimately get to it, but I would ask if, just to be patient, because it would take a little while. But then you don't have to wait, in line. Well, you have to wait, but not physically.
That's right. And there's been times too where Essential Sequential, and not just for David, but other artists as well, where sometimes you can, there's a commission section where you could see what artists are doing commissions. And that's how I started out, through their website. My very first one from you, David, was from San Diego Comic-Con, Batman on a chimney. And that was just, such a great experience. And so, I started learning that, there was availability on the website, and just from time to time. So always check out Essential Sequential and see if you're able to get a piece that way as well.
Yes. And yeah, thank you for the, the shout out. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Let's see. This is from Ella Monks. 5999 says, hey, David, could you do a live drawing session focused on Bernie Wrightson's inking style and line work? I'd love to see you break down his technique and maybe even tackle a Frankenstein piece as well.
Wow. I think that would be amazing to try. Kind of with the very strong caveat that I can't ink like Bernie Wrightson. Not for a second. So, the way that it would go, it wouldn't really be me saying, here, this is how you do it, and this is, how you break down his philosophy. I don't know well enough to do that. What I think would be really interesting, and something I really do actually enjoy doing, is finding an artist that I really, really like. And I've studied Bernie Wrightson a lot. His particular style of rendering, I haven't as much, only because it's so hard. The thing that makes his rendering work, I think, is he has an incredible, delicate sense of rendering, or of lighting. And without that, his rendering, it would still be beautiful, and it would still, it's clean and interesting, but it just wouldn't have the impact that it has. I don't have the ability in black and white. It's a Franklin Booth, some of classic older illustrators would do these basically tonal drawings with ink, and that's really much more what he's doing. And I've never approached it that way. So it would take a real rethink for me to think that way. And also, I don't know if it's in my skill set. Like I what I'm saying is I think I would fall on my face, basically. But I'd be willing to try, and I think it'd be a lot of fun. And I actually would like to do it. So I'm gonna say I want to try it.
You say add it to your Monday night draw list of things you might do, and that'd be pretty awesome.
Well, I'm rethinking Monday Night Draw a lot. For the most part, it'd be the same. But what I don't do with the channel, and that I think is fundamental and foundational for my channel, is tutorials. I never have time. I hate editing them, and I could go on and whatever. But what I really do enjoy doing is talking about all this stuff live with questions and just going for it. And so I want to keep doing tutorials, but I would like to actually just do them live. So next Monday, and that's coming up in a few days, we're going to be doing, I've got topics that people were asking for. And so we're going to run through a couple of those. So basically it's going to be a 2-hour long, tutorial session with questions. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm hoping that people enjoy getting a tutorial that way, and hopefully more. I think I would. I don't know. We'll see how it goes over.
It was also really cool. The last couple shows you did were, portfolio reviews, and that was really fun to watch. Also, just to see, not only their artwork but also just advice that you have for them. I thought that was really neat too.
Yeah, that went over so well. I couldn't believe it. I thought, okay, well, we'll see what the turnout is. I expected some people to turn out because we've done it a couple of times. The turnout was so much bigger than what I've seen before. We ended up having to go for 2 nights, and the second night went on for 4 hours or so. And
wow.
We still had a room full of people waiting to go, and we just couldn't get to them. And I was shocked at the turnout. It's also not just the turnout, but just the level of quality. It can be a little daunting when somebody posts up their artwork, and I'm thinking, wow, I couldn't do this. Like, come on, what am I supposed to say? Like, this stuff is incredible.
There was one guy, I can't remember his name, but I think even you were super impressed with his. Like, it looked like it could be published right now.
There were a few.
Yeah,
I think that it should be being published. Like there were a few where I could say, okay, this is publish ready work. It's great. But it's a little less approachable just from a, more of a standard superhero. This is not a bad thing at all. And I wouldn't want to say, oh, somebody should be doing, your standard superhero fare. That's not what I mean. But it is tougher. It's harder when you have more of an individual style. There were a few like that. And then there were a few that it really was. I mean, I don't know if anybody from Marvel or DC or anywhere else is ever watching, but man, if you work at one of those companies, check out that stream, because there are some people out there that you really should be in contact with.
And what a thrill for them to have you do that. I mean, that's just such a giant honor. It's so cool.
Well, thank you.
B-dubs. Oh, go ahead.
David, I'm fascinated that you can create this piece of art that we're looking at while simultaneously answering questions in an intelligent, thoughtful manner. How much of this becomes intuitive once you have a certain skill set? Because I can't figure out how you're doing what you're doing.
Well, it's not actually such a special thing, to be honest, really, because it would be impossible for me to write something and talk, or I don't know any writers that can, like watch a show or like watch a YouTube video. A lot of writers can't even listen to music because you're using kind of that area of your brain. But when you're drawing, I really am using an entirely different area of my brain to draw. So I know a lot of artists that can just sit on the phone all day and draw. So I want to say, oh, this is because I'm a genius.
Sure.
I would accept that answer.
This is going to be totally off topic, but I always notice it as you're drawing. It feels like it looks like a new tattoo on your arm. When it comes to arcs, I'm always interested, like how artists, what they choose to put on their bodies. Do you have does that ever cross your mind, like, hey, maybe I should get like a comic book tattoo, or do you have any comic book tattoos or any?
I don't have any comic tattoos at all. I have one that I want to get though.
Okay.
Oh,
Is there any special meaning to what you're doing with the forearm
So
as far as design, or it just looks cool to you?
it's not a new tattoo. It's actually 20 years old.
Oh, okay. I never.
It held
never
up
seen that
well,
one.
you know.
Yeah.
It's okay. You know what? Over the years, I really should have thought of a cool answer for that. 'Cause I've
Look,
got
I
asked
slowed
a lot.
down his drawings.
But I didn't want something pictorial because I didn't trust that it would look right. I just talked to Michael Gautrin actually at OAX, and he got a Darth Vader that I drew for him tattooed, and it looked beautiful. So I think that would be nice, but I've always been a little bit afraid to do that just because I thought if it's not right, it will drive me crazy for life. So I wanted something that was just kind of design heavy. And this one, I was looking at some Celtic designs. This is a long time ago. And they're a little more geometric. And this is more of a Maori kind of inspired design. I didn't design it.
Okay.
And I just liked the look of it. And
It's got a great flow.
I had reasons for wanting to get a tattoo, but the actual design itself isn't really significant.
Well, you mentioned one that you'd like to get. What would you like to get?
Sean Crystal is doing tattooing now.
Yes.
Let me show you what I'd like to get. Here, hold on.
Go.
I'll have to get up again.
Yeah, that's the ink pulp.
That's right. Yeah.
JWR's got one done by him this weekend. He had that nerdy tattoo done.
Oh yeah, they were at the convention, right?
Yeah, Sean did JWR's tattoo this weekend.
wow.
So Sean did this on my YouTube channel.
So good.
And this is actually a really different drawing for it. It was so special to get this from him because on the channel, he used a lot of dry brush and a looser technique that he had never really tried. And I thought it looked incredible. I love how it turned out. So I really was very happy to get this one. This is what I would want to get.
That's
so
awesome.
cool.
So, and because he's actually doing it himself, I know it looked right, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a tattoo that he did that looked amazing, like beautiful. So yeah, I have plans. I haven't told Meredith yet. We'll see.
Well, I have been toying around the idea. I have, I've got 3 or 4 tattoos, but like I'd like to do a half sleeve, and I would really like to do something kind of like what they did with that Vader, and maybe do some of your head sketches from the wall. Maybe do Batman and Joker or something with your sketch on it. I think that'd be pretty awesome.
Well, if you do it, you got to talk to Michael Gautrin's guy or girl. I don't know who did it, but whoever it was that did an amazing job.
It's awesome. And that Vader it was the one where it's like Anakin and the torn mask, which looked great. I saw the photos posted this weekend, and again, turned out really nice.
Yeah. It's amazing when it's really, done right. Because I don't know how tattoo artists are able to do that. It's such it's a very different medium, and then to be able to get across something that I'm just working on paper, it's very forgiving, and I can wipe this out.
So you only get one chance at tattooing, really. I mean, it's yeah. V-Dub says, not sure if you remember, David, but you did my absolute Batman commission at Phoenix Fan Fusion, and I remember telling you how his cowl ears came off as knives.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Was that a comic cover, or was it just a commission like this? Do you remember?
It was a commission. Oh, I see what you mean. Like drawn on a comic cover?
Yeah, I had this one loaded up for the show that I really liked. I didn't know if that was the one he was talking about or not, but I thought that one turned out really nice.
Well, thank you. I think I drew that one. I don't know when I drew it. The one with the ears, he actually has the ears off and is kind of holding them. So it's a different one.
Okay. That's awesome. That's very cool. Sorry, I have hogged the questions, guys. You guys have some questions for David?
We didn't finish the list yet. If you want to.
Okay. Well, we can go. I think it might have been, let's see. Do you want to go to Eric's question there?
Okay. Yeah. So you've had the chance to draw so many iconic characters over the year. Do you have like a passion project that you haven't done yet that you would like to work on?
Yes, I have a few. I would love to draw a Spider-Man story.
Okay.
That would be a blast. I'd love to do something with Daredevil or Hulk.
Yeah, Daredevil would be good. Yeah, too.
Yeah, Daredevil would be so much fun. I'd love to do something with Lobo. I say this all the time. I would love to do a Lobo story, and I don't think I'm really the right artist for it because I don't have a humorous style, and I think you need to have both. Simon Bisley was so great on Lobo because he did like this really aggressive, cool stuff, but he also had such a great visual kind of sense of humor, and I think I would be maybe setting myself up for failure, but I would have a great time with it. So, and then there are ideas that I've talked about with friends, like, oh, we should try this and we should try that, and not necessarily just different new IP, like things like that. I think would be a blast. Like, there's so many things, and every time I make a choice, I'm closing doors to other choices, which is always so difficult.
Yeah.
So when kind of piggybacking off of that, whenever like right now you're working on Skinbreaker, are you like contracted just for that amount of time and you can't do other things at the same time, or can you juggle different projects from different comic companies?
I'm contracted, so I can't. I've done I did an Absolute Batman cover last year, and I did the Long Halloween follow-up.
Yes,
for that. I had actually finished Skinbreaker, and so I had like a short period where my contract was up, and I hadn't signed the next one yet, so I was able to do those. For the most part, I can't. I'm actually working on a book called Terminal right now. Check this out. So I have a preview copy of this. I don't know how much of this I can show because I don't think these are out yet. But
nobody's watching.
Yeah.
But I know it got announced, so I can show a little bit. So yeah, this is Andy Kuper artwork.
Nice.
Amazing stuff. Also, there's no dialogue, so that kind of helps.
Oh, that's fun.
This is incredible stuff. He did the first 5 issues. There's Arthur Adams in there. I don't know how much I can show here.
Well, the dialogue's not edited yet, right? I'm assuming.
I'll show a couple of pages that I did. Here's one of them.
Look at that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, look at that splash. Beautiful.
By the way, inks by Sandra Hope. So like all of this stuff, like the wheels, all the tech, everything that she does is great. Like with the faces, she's so great. But when I penciled this, it did not look like this at all. So yeah, I was so thrilled that she was able to do it.
So much movement.
Arthur Adams. I don't know how much of that I can show, but there you go. Terminal. This is a book that is coming out next. I think the first issue. Actually, I know the first issue comes out in July.
Which publisher was that?
It's Skybound.
Skybound. Okay.
Written by Robert Kirkman and Joe Casey.
Oh, good. You got a lot of talent in that book.
Yeah. Well, talking about feeling pressure. Being on a book with Robert Kirkman and Arthur Adams. That's pressure.
Dave, when you mentioned you had a little bit of time in between contracts to do a cover, how much time typically are you dedicating or expecting to have to spend on a single cover?
2 days.
Okay.
Generally, and then it ends up taking 3, and it should never take more than 2. I'm fast enough to do it easily, but I'm also lazy at times. The problem is if somebody needs a cover that day, I can do a cover that would take me 3 days in a day, no problem. I can do it, and it won't even suffer for quality. I'll just basically sit down and just not look up. But if I have the time, next thing you know, I'm playing solitaire, and whatever. So yeah.
How much input? I can understand the interiors with the scripts that you're following and so forth. How much input are you getting conceptually for the cover?
Pretty much. Total control would be an exaggeration because I'm sending in layouts, Okay. So they have to get approved. But I come up with the concepts myself. Like all the Walking Dead covers, I'm doing Walking Dead covers twice a month, and I have been for years now.
They're great too, by the way.
Those ones, it's so helpful to have a comic that's actually fully finished and published that I can look at and then decide what I want to do for the cover. And so for all of those, I read the comic and I just find, the scene or, specific image that I think kind of talks to me the most.
Okay.
And I do concepts on that and turn it in. And in the time that I've been doing Walking Dead covers, I'm on issue 140 now. I've had one cover, like concept, rejected. And it was because somebody else had done basically the same cover. So, it was like the most obvious idea. And I thought it was a good idea. I still think it was a good idea, but somebody else had done it. So they wanted me to go in a different direction.
I want to give a shout out to, you met this artist this weekend, Yevgeny. He's very, very tall. Very tall. Great. He said, such a great experience meeting Dave at OAX this past weekend. It meant a lot to him. So he just wanted to give you a shout out.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I have some of his artwork here. It's upstairs. I mean, I could run all the way up and get it, but I'll have to break it out on Monday Night Draw and show you guys. It's very, very good.
That's right. He's been, popping in this channel for, a year or two now, and just another talented artist. So it's always nice to see what, all these incredible creatives are coming up with. So again, it's just awesome. He had a chance to say hello to you this weekend.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't know what the heck I'm thinking, trying to help other artists, because they come along and they're so good. And I'm like, hey, I've got to compete with these guys, like it's all fun and games until all of a sudden they're so good that I'm like, oh no.
Here's a controversial question. I have a feeling I know how you're going to answer, but he says, this is from Second Floor Comics, super chat. David, are you willing to share your thoughts on the impact AI has had on the comic industry?
Oh, great question.
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't know. I'm going to say when the whole AI thing first kind of hit, I thought, wow, look, artists, we're finished. Like this is a catastrophe for all of us. And it has not been. And companies like Jim Lee over at DC said that they would never use AI. I think from what I've seen, every company so far has shied from it. I'm sure things slip through here and there, and it's a shame. But the fact is that comic book fans, I'd certainly count myself as one. You can get your entertainment from anywhere. It doesn't need to be comics. It's comics because we love the medium and the creativity, and there's a soul that goes into the work, and I think for any company to move away from that and just make something basically AI slop, I don't care how good it is. It's just, I think it would utterly alienate the fans. I don't think it would be a win for a company to do, and so the effect has been very minimal, if at all. I don't know of an effect, actually. I think we've been very fortunate. As a matter of fact, I've talked to artists in different fields that are feeling the effect much, much more. Some design fields, those kinds of things, and that's terrible. And people in other professions, like art aside, I think it's having a broader and broader impact. And I don't want to go into a whole big thing about AI, except to say that it's a tool that the entire appeal of it is to be able to replace people. And it's by greedy companies that feel like, hey, the bottom line will be a lot better off if we don't have to support people and families. And ultimately those companies will also feel the effect when every other company out there can also do it for free. So I think there's no winners with AI.
Yeah, like I said, it's not just art; it's everything in life.
Everything.
Yeah, it really is. I think it's a race to the bottom.
Well, and it's been so refreshing too to see like all the conventions, how they've had the AI bands from people selling that artwork and stuff, and so I've been really impressed with that.
Yeah,
because that's not the focus of a Comic-Con. A Comic-Con is to interact with the artists and see the real true talent.
Yeah, I think we have it's a trust with the audience, and if that's broken, what is there, So I think it would be not in the show's interest to allow it. And I'm so glad that they don't. And I think it would. I've worried for years and years, comics might not last, and who knows, will people just stop reading like books? Is it all going and everybody's playing video games now or whatever it is?
It was like that when digital, when the comics went to digital, we were thinking that like, was that the end of physical, reading, but it still seems to be popular.
It really does. And I think that, embracing AI would actually spell the end, because I can't imagine somebody investing their time or energy or passion into, like a fan investing into something that's just punched out by a computer.
Absolutely.
Just the app we were talking about in our group the other day, the sales for Absolute Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. It's like they're going into like 11th printings, and it's crazy the success of that book.
Yeah, well, and so much of that is Scott Snyder, and you talk about the power of giving an incredibly gifted writer the kind of control that, because I gather he wanted to do Absolute Batman before and he wasn't able to, and they let him do it, and it turned out to be the right move. But so much of it, I think, is Nick Dragotta, who has such an unconventional, weird style. Really, like, it's weird stuff, but it's just like cool. Like, it just feels so good to look at, and it's so fresh. Like, he's, to me, he really reminds me of some of the early Image guys that, like Todd McFarlane, that just did stuff that, or Rob Liefeld, or it's just like a style that I haven't really seen before, and just feels exciting. And I think that Absolute Batman, it wouldn't be what it is without him at all.
Yeah, it's just the writing is so fantastic, but then again, like, just his artwork, and I feel like it's put him on the map, really. It's just, he's in very high demand, and it's well worth it, because it's just really great stuff from all parties involved.
Yeah, well, I think he's, you'll have artists every once in a while. It'll happen where somebody will get a little bit of heat based on a book, and then that'll fade. I think that will never be the case with him. I think he's made himself a legacy that will last for a very long time.
It definitely did in the beginning, because when they first teased the designs, people were like, "That's not how Batman is supposed to look." And then, fast forward, everybody loves that title now. It's insane.
Yeah.
Well, when they realized how good the storyline was, and it was just something different, it's like, well, okay, we have something here. This is really good.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm such a huge fan of it. I can't remember what convention it was, but I'm walking to my table, and Nick Dragotta's there at his table, and he's a young artist. I've been doing this for ages, and meanwhile, I'm like, oh man, look at that! It's Nick Dragotta. That's pretty cool. I'm just such a huge fan of what he's doing. And I'm a huge fan, and also it just feels so incredibly promising to see something new and to see it get embraced that way. And we always have eras in comics where you'll have something really creative that'll come along, and then it feels like everybody's basically just kind of doing that thing, and you wait for the next kind of thing to come along that's going to be interesting and just different and push things. And I think he's done that.
Alcoholic Dream says, my two daughters are drawing along while watching this with me. So that's awesome.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Some young artists out there. It's great. Keep this amazing tradition alive.
Yeah, I had my daughter was sitting next to me earlier. She had to go to bed, and I was like, look what he's drawing. It's so awesome.
I was drawing with my son today, something I never do.
Awesome.
Because I'm so afraid of making him not want to draw. And so I've just been avoiding it. And he got an assignment in his art class, and it was a page full of different rendering techniques. And he was kind of struggling with it. And so I was showing him how to go along his hand and how to, you have to control the line. And by the end of it, he got so good with it. And he said, Dad, thanks for showing me that. I really appreciate it. I'm like, well, I've been totally ignoring him. I'm trying to help all these people draw, and I never help them. And it's not that I don't want to. I tried when he was younger, and it did not go well. So I thought, okay, I just need to back away. But I think he's ready to listen, and he can do it. So I'm very excited about it. That was just today.
Well,
it's really great. No, go ahead.
I just have to say, at the risk of sounding like a show producer, I have to tell you, I've thought many times when you're giving some of your mini tutorials as you do on Monday Night Draw, I thought, man, it would be so cool if you had every so often done a show where it is a draw along with Dave, like intentional step by step. I did it as a kid. I grew up in New England, and we had this guy. He was named Captain Bob, and he was on every Sunday morning. I used to get up at 6 a.m. as a kid on Sunday mornings to draw along with Captain Bob, and it was always a tutorial. And he was always doing, we draw tall ships and little seaside cabins and lighthouses and that kind of stuff. But it was just so fun and interesting. You'd feel like you could succeed because you understood the steps. And I thought people would absolutely do that with you for the reasons that Chris was talking about earlier. You're a natural instructor. I think people would love it.
Yeah.
That is actually a great idea. I like constructive drawing in the sense that, it starts with, for me, if I'm drawing something like this, a head that is very much based on Loomis and, all that kind of thing. And so it's constructive. And I always worry about making like a, first draw this line and then that line. That's not how I approach it.
Right.
But starting like drawing a standard traditional Loomis head. So it would take a little bit more skill.
Sure.
Like going in and then making the adjustments to the proportion in that head to make it work for Joker, because you'd have to. And I think that's very interesting. And then, kind of approaching it that way.
Yep.
I don't know if that would be take away from what you're talking about. You'd have to let me know, but that's how, like, intuitively, that's how I'm thinking I'd want to do it.
I think people would love it. And the other thing, and now thinking back to Captain Bob, which was a very long time ago now, he would have the pic. He had already done the picture, and he'd have it on his easel, and he'd say, "Okay, kid, today this is what we're going to draw." And he'd talk about the different things. We're going to talk about shading, and we're going to talk about perspective and whatever. And he'd put that aside, and you wouldn't see it. It's off screen now, and you'd have the blank sheet of paper that he'd work from, and show you how to build toward that. So you've got the finished image in your mind's eye already, and you kind of understand what you're working toward. He'd just show you step by step.
Yeah. Awesome. I remember as a kid, it was a Commander Mark.
Sure. That is such a great idea.
Did you guys ever see that as a kid? Commander Mark, I think he was on maybe PBS, and he would draw stalactites and stalagmites and
sure.
stations. Yep. You remember him?
Yeah, I do.
Same thing. Like he had it kind of penciled in, and then he would show you how to draw it, and it's like this is so much fun. I think it's a great idea.
I was strictly Bob Ross, and that was it.
Happy trees.
Yeah, me too. I remember watching that.
God, I love Bob Ross. Yeah.
And Bob Ross made it look so easy. You just want to do it,
That's what I think when I watch you now. It's like David makes it look so easy.
So I used to have Bob Ross's books. I would try to like duplicate his paintings, and it's just so much fun.
Talk about somebody who made it look easy. Oh my God.
Oh, he did. He did. John says, heard David's going to be at C2E2 next month. Is he going to be doing sketches or just autographs? Planning on getting some?
I will be there, and yes, I'll be sketching for sure. I could not do a show and not draw. I'd go crazy. Like just here, talking to you guys, I'm so much more comfortable once I start drawing. When we started, I'm like, I'm doing an interview right now, and very conscious of it. The minute I start drawing, I kind of forget I'm just talking.
Yep,
that's awesome. People are loving this. The level of detail in David's work is amazing. Just everybody's loving this.
It's one of my favorite parts at the very end when he puts on all the little line details into everything. It comes to life.
And line weight too, because it's kind of missing that. It definitely helps it come together for sure, but it doesn't work without all the shadow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just absolutely incredible. Justin Racklin says, have you ever done a commission that when you were done, you thought this has to get used in a book or maybe a cover? And if so, did it?
Okay. Yes. I feel like I sound like a jerk if I say yes, but I have, like, I've done it. I've been so happy with it. I thought, yeah, it'd be great. Like, I think it would work, and I think it'd be pretty cool. And, it has happened. Marvel. Now, the reason it happened is Marvel was, and they still are, I just can't do it because I'm under contract, but they were buying commissions and then using them as covers. And so I did a bunch of those. Like a lot of the Monday Night Draw stuff that I did of Marvel covers Marvel characters ended up being Marvel covers for a while there before basically before Robert Kirkman found out. He's like, "What do you do? You're under contract, man." I'm like, "All right." I had to stop. And then there have been other ones that haven't. Actually, you know what? Speaking of Robert Kirkman, I did a. This is a long time ago. A Wolfman is a. Oh man, I'm sorry, Robert. I forget the names. Whatever Wolfman. Anyway, he had a comic, and I did a commission of it, and he used that as a cover.
So awesome. Keith Brock says, I'm a big fan of comics and artists that draw them. I also draw characters, and I would like to know what type of ink and paint do you find is best to use for comics and illustrations? And David did kind of mention some of that a little bit, but again, your main pens that you use, David?
So the one I'm currently using, I'm just going to say that it is a Pentel. It's always written in Japanese. Every time I get it, it is. I'm assuming that's Japanese. So there's no way for me to know. But I do know that if you go to Amazon or even to Jet Pens and you type in Pentel brush pen, you'll find these. Oh. So the back of it it's detachable. They're refillable cartridges. Well, they're not refillable cartridges. So you can buy new cartridges and just add them to it. So this is what I use for my brush. Bear in mind, they're not waterproof. And so they're not terrible, but if you do a wash over this, it'll pick up.
Interesting.
They're permanent, but they're not waterproof. I start all my drawings with an upside down Micron, with a Micron 01. I only use an 01 because if I go any smaller than this, it starts getting so finicky with detail. It actually starts to fight the finish look a little bit. So I find this is a good size for me. I like starting all my drawings with just a thin line like this because it makes it really easy for me to use whiteout essentially as an eraser if I screw up. And then I do most of my rendering with, this is a Tombow. It's also a brush pen, but this is a felt tip, relatively hard tip. And I can get a lot of thin to thick with this. It can be a little bit blunt depending on the atmosphere, basically. Yeah, I'll go to conventions sometimes and they'll work terribly. Like it'll be so blunt and I just can't get a fine edge out of them. And if that happens, I have my Micron PN, and this one here it's like a plastic nib. And it also goes thin to thick, but not very thick at all, but it goes very thin. So it's much more detail. I can get a thinner line out of it with still a little bit of thin to thick, and it works really well if I'm at actually just this past weekend at OAX, my Tombows just weren't working at all. At home, they generally do for whatever reason. So I would say tools, they really can vary. And this Tombow is the hard version. It's the blue one. There's also a black one with gold bits here, and it's a soft one. And a lot of artists like the soft one because you can get actually a larger, thick, and more character out of the line. I just don't have the hand control. So much of the tools that you pick depends on really your particular feel, where you live, whatever it is. Like I use a 2H lead, and I like 2H because it gives me a hard enough line that I can get the detail that I need. Anything softer and it starts getting difficult to get detail. Also, I can end up with a film of pencil all over the page with my 2H. It puts down a nice hard line and it doesn't smear at all. So it's great. But if you live in a really, really humid place, it can actually be pretty thankless to use, and you might want to switch to H. So, always bear in mind what is right for somebody is not necessarily right for you.
Great tips. Second Floor Comics says, Chris, show 195 is off the charts. What do you do to top it for show 200? There is no topping the show. It's all downhill from here. Yeah, there's no topping this for me.
I have a question. David,
yes,
do irises always come last?
I'm sorry, do what?
I noticed that you haven't drawn the irises yet. Is that something you save for the very end?
Oh,
he had it in with the pencil earlier, and then he erased it.
Yeah, I kind of almost always do that. I don't actually have a good reason for it. I don't know why. So much so that I kind of forget sometimes, and I end up finishing a picture and not drawing them in. That happens. So yeah, I don't have any good reason for that at all.
Okay.
But for whatever reason, I do it.
Theodore says, David, do you feel as if the young generation now doesn't have the same passion for art in either 3D form or 2D form due to social media and technology?
No, not at all whatsoever. I hear what you're saying for sure, but just based on the work that I'm seeing from people, we had the review stream, just based on what people are doing, I think that the passion definitely seems to be there. I think that maybe for some young people, embracing something a little bit more real, like drawing or creating, it's kind of an antidote to social media and the kind of world we're living in nowadays. So I don't know. I'm talking out of my butt. I don't know if that's true.
It's okay. Kids are too busy playing on their iPads and everything.
It's funny, you were talking about your son drawing and didn't have any interest at all. I've got 2 boys, and I have a art background, and so I've loved art my whole life, and my kids just never took any interest, and they spent a lot of time when they were younger, video games, things like that. But now they're doing so many more artistic things. Like my son Ledger, he plays guitar, and he's really good at guitar. And my youngest, his name's Locke, and he's taken up photography, and he just loves, he just has that eye. So it's really kind of neat to see our kids grow up and then find their artistic ability, whether it's drawing or, again, photography or whatever. But I think that's awesome to see. And again, yes, there is a lot of kids that do gravitate toward the video games and the social media, but I think there's still a lot of people out there that really appreciate art and everything it brings to our world.
Yeah, I think so.
Stanley says, does David do much sightseeing when he goes to cons? Do you ever get a chance just to go out and enjoy?
Not generally. I would like to. Well, I don't know. I would and I wouldn't. I'm such a homebody. I kind of want to get home. Also, I do shows basically always on my own. I've learned to accept the fact that I'm doing shows on my own. Because with the horses, we've got horses,
Yes.
They're a lot of work. And so generally, if I'm at a show, well, every time if I'm at a show, Meredith's home with the horses, and it's a lot of work. So I know she needs me back home to help out with that stuff too. So I don't just stick around. Also, if I'm going to tour, it'd be nice to have her there. And,
Yeah. Absolutely.
As it is right now, it's not the easiest for her to travel. She's kind of working on we have help actually right now. So we're going to be able to do it more. At least this is what she tells me.
I always wondered that with artists, it could be any artist, especially when it comes to like buildings. Like if you go to New York City, are you taking pictures of buildings from different perspectives so you have a reference, or I guess maybe you can find that stuff online, or maybe it's just in your head and you can do it.
Yeah, every time I go to New York, I always think like just walking around, it's so much to take in, and it would be such great reference. And I did it one time where I thought, I need to take some pictures. So I took a whole bunch of pictures, and then I never used them. And I need a particular picture, and I end up with Google. I think, if this were pre-Google days, and I certainly remember working in, those days, we all used to have, magazines and like huge, basically a swipe file is what you would call it, with all kinds of different reference. I had magazines on and books on all kinds of different things, old architecture, because you needed that. Now with Google, you don't. The problem is over the last couple of years, and it's very frustrating, I wish there was a way to just curate it out. But when I search for anything, most of the results are turning out to just be AI junk, Yep. So like I need a horse. Well, I find all these AI horses, and it's really frustrating. There should be a way that stuff is just, you could just hit a button and any AI junk just gets eliminated from searches.
Oh, that would be so cool.
That would be great. There's got to be a digital footprint to it that they could do that, you would think.
Maybe we
Yeah.
can AI a way to figure it out.
Yeah.
How do I get rid of AI?
Yeah, how do we get rid of AI using AI? John says, what does David think about drawing uses excuse me, I'm going to retry that.
That's a
What
good
does
question.
David think about drawing using a tablet versus pen and paper?
I've done it a little bit. I have a tablet. As a matter of fact, actually, this week I have a page that I have to fix. It's already inked and turned in and everything, and I drew the wrong character. So
Wow.
I'm going to do that with a tablet.
Oh my
So
gosh.
there are times,
Wow.
but for the most part, what I don't like about it is
It's also cheating with that because the tablet kind of fixes the lines for you and those programs. And
okay, sure, yeah, no, that is true. And if you draw something and the head's too big, you can just resize it, or you can move things around. You still need to know the head's too big. So, like, I wouldn't take away from an artist that uses it. I think it's just as valid, of course, but you have no original art to sell, and it's a tough decision when you're starting. Your art is really not worth that much at all, and it takes a little while to establish value in your work and get a community of people that are interested in buying what you do. That takes time, but it is so incredibly worth doing. Original art it's a big deal. It's a big market, and as an artist, I think you're hurting your future self working on the computer.
Well, this just is so much better. Just to see the process, it's just beautiful.
I'm going to give them eyes right now because I will forget otherwise. I always draw a little dot first to make sure they line up and they're not cross-eyed, and then, like, if I draw a little dot, I can shift it over, or and it's fine. If I draw the whole thing, then it's a problem.
You need to teach the statue companies how to put eye decals on, because they have a lot of trouble with the eyes on the statues a lot of times.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah.
well, if they don't do decals, they actually do what he's doing with the little dots.
It's really cool. It's awesome. All right, let me go into this is a quick rapid fire. Okay, so it's just I'm gonna shoot it off, and you just say what you like. When you draw Batman, longer ears or shorter ears?
Oh man. Shorter ears.
Okay. Cape, flowing dramatically or wrapped tight and tactical?
Flowing dramatically.
Okay. Better statue movement, calm intimidation or mid-air action?
Calm intimidation.
Okay. Most fun villain for you to exaggerate physically? Joker, Bane, Darkseid?
Penguin.
Oh, I love that. That's fantastic. I love the penguin you did for me, by the way. It's one of my favorites. I love it.
Thank you.
If a collector can only own one definitive Finch character, who is it?
That's a good question too.
I would say either Batman or Moon Knight.
Okay. More important for a Grail statue or a Grail piece of art, likeness accuracy or dynamic pose?
Shoot. It depends on what it like. So DC did a line of Batman black and white statues.
Yes, they did.
And the coolest ones of those, obviously, the ones that had all of those things. But really, I think when I could look at it and immediately tell who the artist was, those are the coolest ones.
Yeah.
But then, for a general statue, I'd say dynamic pose.
Shockingly to everyone, I have yours in my entryway.
I just broke mine.
I just
Well, okay,
no.
the cat broke mine, but it's broken.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Best element for Gotham: gargoyle, rooftop edge, or rain-soaked alley?
Rain-soaked alley.
More intimidating physique: your Superman or your Batman?
Batman.
Would you rather see a solo hero piece or a full villain battle scene?
Solo hero piece. And that's not just because it's easier.
Love it. That was our rapid fire. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That was awesome. All right. Sorry again. I feel like I'm hogging questions. Dan, Eric, Jeff, what do you got?
Quick one. David, are there any limitations being a southpaw artist?
I know southpaw artists can have more of a tendency to smear pencils and inks.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. I don't actually 100% really know why, but it can be more of a problem. I haven't had that problem for a long time. Mostly it's because I use a 2H that really helps. But a big part of it is I tend to render back through this way more.
Okay.
At least I tell myself that. I don't know if that's even really true, but it hasn't really been too much of a problem.
I don't remember ever noticing you use a sheet of paper under your hand at any point in your process or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
You did once at a convention with so you gave me a some of your artwork comes with a certificate from Essential Sequential.
Yeah.
And you were using the certificate to do my commission. And then I had to come back and get it. Like, I feel like an idiot. I'm like, David, I need my little certificate back from you.
So I was using it to.
Yeah, I don't know if you were using it as a bookmark, or I think you were leaning on it.
Huh.
Maybe it's straight edge or something, maybe?
Yeah, well, I've done that. So maybe.
I was going to say, I think, using a bookmark is great for drawing some straight lines. So it might have been why.
Yeah, it's not as good as a ruler. You have to be a little more careful, but it works.
So, Chris, what is it like for you to sit here and watch David do this, knowing that this is going to be on your wall?
I'm like fighting back tears. Like, this is just like this is. I was so nervous about tonight. I didn't know if the cameras would work and stuff. I'm like, I want to make sure it's a great show. And again, I literally do have tears in my eyes. Like, this is so amazing to watch. And again, like I've stood there. I feel like an idiot. Like, it was Baltimore, and I probably stayed over your shoulder for an hour, David, just watching you draw. And I'm like, does that ever bother you having people watch you like that?
Well, no. No.
Yeah, I always feel weird doing that with any artist. I feel like, they don't you don't want to like hover over them for too long.
Yeah, no, I never mind that. There are times I'm not always the biggest talker, and I can kind of get in my own head. And depending, there are times like, man, okay, I don't know what to say now.
Yeah, time to move along.
But it's rare, and that's all. It's like a me problem when that happens. Other than that, no, I never mind.
I would assume that there are some people probably that do overstay their time, especially when there's people waiting behind.
Yeah, it can happen.
David, have you had other artists swing by your table while you're drawing and stop and watch?
Yeah, well, and I mean, I do that too,
Yeah.
Like watching Jonathan Wayshak draw, man, I could do that all day. Or Josh Cassera. I'm familiar with his work.
This is so much fun to watch. Like, again, I love when you do the thicker, dark lines and all the shadow work. But then when this part right here, it's just everything pops. Like, it just really comes to life, this part. I love this part.
Well, thank you. Yeah, this is always the, when it works, it's great. And then I've had pictures that I've ruined this way. I've gotten better, I think. Thinking, there were times I would just destroy a picture. Like, I just don't know when to stop. So
I have a statue question for you, going back to the XM Sanity. Well, one thing I would love to see, if you can ever one day share the, you said you had all different angles. I don't think that's ever been shown from the statue companies. I know there was a full frontal view that was shown with the artwork. We've never really seen. 17. Yeah. But going back to like the concept, because a lot of people were like, what happened to the Riddler? How come the Riddler wasn't included on the statue? Was that like XM's decision, like the statue company's decision, or maybe it just didn't fit? There was too many characters on the statue? Or?
Is he really not on there at all?
Yeah.
They did an Easter egg. They did a question mark.
Yeah.
Into the statue. Yeah, there is a question mark hidden.
Yeah. That's totally on me, because they really gave me a lot of control to, kind of do what I wanted to do with it. And I just forgot. I really needed to write down a list, before I started.
Well, there's yeah.
I drew Riddler in my last run on Batman. Riddler was in there, and he was a blast. It was so much fun. Also, especially a blast because Greg Capullo had just drawn him, and so I drew him the Greg Capullo way. It so helps when you have like a master that you love his work and they've done a character and it's cool. And then I can just kind of, draw it that way.
Yeah, there were so many people just focused on Riddler, but if you look at the statue, because I have it also, it like you're missing, like there's so many characters you could, because Batman has a huge, rogues gallery. There could be Killer Croc, Mad Hatter. The characters go on and on, so you can't put everything.
There is Killer Croc in there.
Oh, is no wait, is no, there's not. I don't think. You have, I think, 12.
Bane in the base.
Bane, Penguin, Poison Ivy. Oh, you have it there at your house too, right? Man Bat, Two-Face.
You're right.
Forgot that one too. Yeah, no, there's just so many you can't put them all in.
I thought we might have put like some of his tail in or something. No, well. And Killer Croc, that's a big one. Like that's an oversight.
Yeah. That's
the thing too, though, is like, okay, let's say that you had Riddler. Well, maybe if you had Riddler in there, you might not have had Man Bat. And up until that point, no one had ever done a Man Bat statue. So seeing a Clayface and Man Bat at the top like that, like it really framed the piece in really nice with those two big characters. And so, again, there's the Rogues Gallery, as evident from my wall. There's a lot of characters that, you can't do them all. You just can't.
Yeah. That is true. Still not having Riddler. It's not ideal, but not having Killer Croc that's not cool.
Well, XM approved it. They could have been like, hey,
yeah,
that's right. JWR, a friend of ours, says, David, if you could pick any cover of yours to make into a statue, what cover would you pick? That's a good question.
Oh yeah.
A lot of good covers over the years.
Wow, that is such a hard question.
What about the Batman 600? That's iconic.
Yeah, there you go. Actually, that would be a good choice.
How has that not been done as a statue? I mean, that is like one of the most iconic Batman images I can think of.
Okay, there's a big problem with that cover, though. And that is his cape totally covers him.
Yeah.
And it was a problem. When I drew it, I ended up drawing that one twice. I drew it, and I was struggling, and I finally decided, heck with it. I got lucky too, because it didn't look like the layout that I turned in. Because the layout I turned in when I was drawing it, I hated it. And I didn't do that. The version that, I'm sure a lot of you are not familiar with that cover, but his cape totally covers his whole body, like his front. And I thought, there's no way they're going to let me do that, because you want to see his bat symbol. And it basically it's just he's covered with a cape, and they would have been totally legitimate to reject it. Thankfully they didn't, but
I think that's one of the things that make it look so cool. Again, that Kelly Jones type cape, where it's, again, that very vampire looking cover. It just looks phenomenal to me. I love it. It's one of my favorites.
Hidden in the shadows.
Yeah.
But I could see that being a reason why it wouldn't be a statue.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you said you did it twice. Do you still have the original?
I threw it away.
Oh.
I usually, if I don't like something, I always chuck it. I don't want to see it again.
Chris, you can't go through his garbage.
I was just
Not allowed.
Hey, don't put it past me. I would do it.
I did a Wonder Woman cover twice. It's happened a lot. And the Wonder Woman one, I did keep it, and I sold the original version, but I didn't hate it. It just didn't fit for a cover. It was just a design problem. Like it just didn't line up on the cover right, and there's no way I could fix the composition. I just couldn't figure it out, so I just started again. So that'll happen. But the Batman one, I truly hated. I wanted to see it out of my life.
There it went. Which is the hardest to draw? People, the environment, or action?
Action. Action really is the hardest. And it's not a single shot of action that's hard. What's hard is making a really specifically choreographed scene flow panel to panel, because it has to flow. Like if somebody cocks a punch back, they need to follow through on that punch in the next panel. Or if somebody punches in one panel and then you punch again in another panel, they need to be punching with the other arm, or it looks repetitious. Things need to line up properly. A lot of times action can be much more complex than just a punch. A lot of times you can have a fight scene with multiple people. I've had writers give me this kind of thing where in the foreground, this character is fighting this person and they're doing some crazy thing that is hard to get across visually. And in the midground, you have some other crazy thing happen. And then in the background, you have, and then the next panel, all those three things progress and it all has to make sense. And it has to make sense immediately. Like you can't get away. I have people come up with samples a lot of times and they start making excuses, which I understand, the urge to do that. But it's so important to understand that when you put a comic out, you don't get to make excuses. It goes out and people look at it, they glance at it. People aren't going to stare at your art forever to try and figure out what's happening. As a matter of fact, if they have to do that, they'll just put it down. So it needs to be immediately readable. And that is a challenge. It can be, depending.
Justin Racklin says, this is funny, trunks or no trunks, black bat or yellow oval, blue and gray or black and gray. Very specific.
Right now, my preference is, always my preference is trunks. It drives me nuts when, I know Jeff Johns like the no trunks and, but I never agreed with him on that one. Yeah, so trunks for sure. I think for years would have said the black and gray. Right now, I like the blue and gray, and with the yellow symbol. That would be. I would love to see the yellow oval make a comeback.
So you're thinking more like Neil Adams blue, or a little darker.
That
blue.
blue.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
This book is so old. It's got tape on the cover.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
It has my name on it because at Top Cow we used to steal each other's comics all the time, and you just don't see it again.
That's awesome.
So I wrote my name. We all did. You just write your name on your book, so you could. Well, yeah, it's my book.
that's cool.
I've had that book for 30 some odd years.
Wow. That's awesome. It says, I'm going to E2 next month. What's the best way to go about getting a commission from you? Again, just I think, like you said, it's I'm assuming you're doing the same thing where people could line up and just get in order to do the 30-minute commissions.
Yeah, that's right. So it'll be to get a commission at the table. It'll be you have to show up first thing. We're trying to find a way to make sure that retailers, or basically people with early access passes, don't get them all, because it's not fair to somebody that has to wait until opening, because that is kind of what happened in OAX a little bit. So come early in the morning. It's a new list each day, so if you don't get on the list the first day, it's not like the whole weekend's going to be full. We're making sure to keep it open. And you can also contact Jason Schachter at Essential Sequential about more of a like a full commission, which this would be. I don't know that I'll have any available, but I kind of think I might not. But anyway, it's worth asking him.
This is a good question. A lot of movie stars don't watch their own movies. Is there a book that you've illustrated that you've never read? Do you have any of your own art displayed in your home?
I never read books that I draw. Almost general, now I read them because I shouldn't say never. I generally don't, because I've read the whole thing so many times when I was drawing it. So yeah, I don't generally read them just because I have, so I know exactly what's happening. Maybe I should, because writers end up changing dialogue and tweaking things, and so I kind of miss out a little bit sometimes. I have some of my own. Do I?
So I was.
Okay, I have a Skinbreaker poster up, and I've got an X-Men, like this glass thing that we did. So I've got a few things, but I don't have any original art up. All the original art I have is other artists.
I saw that death cover you did for Action Comics behind you earlier.
Yeah, that was when that came out. DC used that one, and there's a Flash one, and there were a few things. They used them as convention backdrops for like their booth.
Nice, very nice.
And when they were done with them, they gave them to me. So
cool.
That's awesome. Jacob Tells says, if you could swap art styles with any other artist for one issue, who would it be?
Jay Lee.
Oh, love Jay Lee. He is so good.
No hesitation. As a matter of fact, it's really high on my list of an artist that I'd like to just take a little bit of time and just experiment with, some of the techniques he uses, and because I don't really understand it that well, and I find I don't and I have studied Jay Lee like that before, but it's been a long time, and I'd like to try it again. And now that I'm inking more, especially, I think I'd get more out of it.
Somebody asked earlier too, have you ever like traded art with artists? Like, like Jay Lee, do you have any of his art?
I do, actually. I didn't trade for it. That I bought. I would trade them.
Yeah.
But yes, I've traded actually quite a bit with other artists. I've traded with other artists a lot. I've also traded just for artwork that I wanted. Like I got a Walking Dead cover by Charlie Adlard last year, and I traded with the retailer that, the art dealer that had it, which was great because I could bring it home and not have to tell Meredith. I bought a Simon Bisley painted page this past weekend. I'm so excited about it. I don't have it yet. It was too big to fit in my bag, so Jason's mailing it. I'm so thrilled about it. That one I just paid for. I would have traded, but it wasn't an option.
It's awesome. I've got two pieces by him, a great Joker, and I actually got a piece from Eric, which was really awesome, a Batman piece. So just love his work.
Is this Eric Grove or Eric?
No, this Eric here in the panel. He had a piece.
Okay.
Yeah, we did a well. We were supposed to trade originally, but you sold the original one you had, and then
yeah, I just bought it. I think I just bought it from you, right?
Yeah, you purchased mine.
Yeah.
I just want to say, Chris, I'm not going to hack through this picture, so it's going to take a certain amount of time. If there is a point where you're like, okay, we can wrap this up, I can, I don't want to just hold you on here all night while I draw. So, whenever you feel like,
I think you still have a lot of people watching. Yeah, decent crowd.
Well, and again, I mean, I literally could do this all night watching you do this. So it's, I'm not the best person to do it. So why don't, if you're kind of to the point where like, do you want to do another 10, 20 minutes or so, or do you want to keep going? It's up to you.
I'm more than happy to keep, once I start a picture, I can't stop.
Okay.
It's painful for me to stop. I hate it. So whether we're on here or whatever, I'm going to keep going.
It's funny because I had messaged Meredith a couple of days ago because I wasn't Jason was busy or something, and I was like, is there a time limit? I didn't want to keep you too long. And so she said something like, she's like, no, you have them for the night. And, if we get to the 6-hour point, we might need to talk or something like that. I thought that was pretty funny. I'm like, no, it's not gonna be that long. But, again, this is just an absolute joy to watch you work.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Meredith is very protective,
Yeah, she should be.
Yeah, well, and I'm the kind of person that needs that, I hate to say it, but I'm not the most responsible kind of person on earth.
You need the heavy every once in a while, right?
You do. But yeah, she likes you guys a lot. So I didn't have to worry about Meredith, because there are times she would say, oh, it's this and this and this. Yeah, she wasn't about to do that with you guys.
Well, that's awesome. I really, really appreciate that very much. Let's see. Jeff Houghton says, David, any chance of returning to the Motor City Comic Con soon?
Yes. You know, it's disappointing actually. I was thinking about going this year, so it would have been November. We were looking at doing it, and ultimately I couldn't make it work. Just other shows kind of around the same time, and it's always give and take. So not this year, but I would say almost certainly then next year. And
well, it seems like you guys kind of like try to like rotate, around. So it's like every other year or something like that sometimes.
Yeah. We do. I like New York a lot just because I can just drive there. It's just right across the border for me. It's always nice.
That's awesome. So it's probably, are you pretty cold right where you are too then right now?
Yeah, we're cold. We're it was -5 today. I don't know what that is in American, but
that's cold.
Sounds cold.
Yeah, that's cold. This is from Edwan. What's a Finch rule you follow to keep a drawing dynamic even if the pose is simple?
Yeah, the same kind of rules apply, I would say. So there are a couple of things. There's a flow through a figure. Okay, there's a flow through a figure. So you want to make sure, like, okay, so if I'm drawing a guy and he's just standing there, we'll just make something. It's just drawing my guy here. Here he is. Here's an arm. And here's an arm. And obviously he's not dynamic, So to make it much more dynamic, I could actually, and I never do this. I always curve the other way because I want it like a superhero. So I want to punch the chest out, but we'll do it the other way. So I'm going to curve the chest down. And because of that, I want to bring the pelvis out, maybe like come this way.
I thought you were just
nice. And then I'm going to bring the flow all the way down through the legs like this. I might be a little exaggerated and I'll pay for it and it won't really work, but we'll see.
I thought you were drawing a cape and be like, oh, the cape is dynamic, but he's
it's body.
And then even the legs, I want to get some kind of flow through them. So this is a different kind of figure for me for sure, because I don't normally draw a character kind of hunched over like this, but it just has a lot more character to it just by using some flow through the body. So that makes a big difference, rather than just something that's just flat. So you really want to think, and if I did it, let's do it more my traditional way. So I'm going to curve the upper body like this. And see, I'm using a line all the way through the body. And I want to come this way with the head, ideally, because then it gives me, what I like is a line of beauty. So it's a short curve followed by a long curve, or vice versa. I mean, it could be, a long curve followed by a short one. But just a simple curve is nowhere near as interesting as a curve followed by a smaller curve. So my small curve is going to be here for his head. It's going to arc down this way. And then I'm going to let my body flow down through my legs. And then I'm going to have the same kind of a deal here. It's a long curve and my lower legs will complete out the shorter end of that curve.
Yeah, that's a huge difference.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just having the shoulders back.
And so, yeah, you really want to think about flow with your figures when you're drawing them. So that makes a big difference for a figure that's just standing there, like not doing anything special. Having that kind of flow really helps. The other thing that's really, really important, and none of these figures really have that problem, I don't think. Maybe this one. You know what? Maybe this one does. Let's fix it. And the problem I'm trying to sort out right now is my center of gravity. And see, with the leg here, his center of gravity might have been pushed back just a little bit too much. So I really want to think about where my center of gravity is and make sure my figure is grounded on that center. And this one, despite being a, not dynamic figure, it's centered at least. And now if you draw a character, I'm going to draw him small, but here he is, and here's his other leg. And here's his arm here. And my floor is here. He's fallen over, and it's going to be very uncomfortable to look at as a result, because his center of gravity would be way over here, so he'd be tipping over. So you really want to, even whether it's a dynamic, like it's a more dynamic figure, and dynamic figures work differently because since you want motion, you want movement, you want to push your center, and it's a whole other thing. But for a figure standing there, you really want to be aware of your center of gravity and make sure that it's accurate, because then it gives weight to your character down into the floor. And this line of beauty, you need something like this to show like a compression from gravity, into the ground. It sells that. And you can see you have none of that here. It just looks like there's no weight to it as a result of not having any of that. That's really what having that kind of flow gives your figure. It gives it weight. So that's what I would say.
This to me is why I consider you the GOAT, because it's not just, hey, draw this picture for me. There's so much thought that goes into what you just did. And even when you noticed, hey, this doesn't look right, you realize, okay, what I needed to do to correct it. I just think that's incredible. There's so much thought going into these things.
Well, thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. But at the same time, I learned all this from other artists. So I wouldn't want to, somehow claim that this is, I came up with this stuff, or, this is, it's pretty common knowledge for, you look at the artists that really know what they're doing, the really good artists. I think they could all tell you that for sure. And, and more. I learn things from other artists all the time that just blow me away, that I can't believe I didn't know, all the time.
What age did you realize how important studying anatomy would be to being successful?
20.
It's awesome.
I got a really late start, unfortunately. Most comic artists, and now this is most, and there is no reason whatsoever. Like, there's no age limit to, and I've seen artists much older and younger, but generally older, that have made it and had, great careers. Steve McNiven, great example. Mark Bagley was older. There are so many more, but most seem to kind of start around 22 years old. It seems like, you need to mature up a little bit. And, your Joe Mads that are 16 years old are fairly unusual. So I got a bit of a late start at 20. Most start a little sooner, but I think, that's when I was ready to start taking things seriously.
Just awesome. All right. More questions, guys? You got something?
I've been caught up, mesmerized watching him draw.
Yeah, no, I'm just
Give me a second, I'll think of a few. If the chat has any further questions, guys, type them in.
Yeah, this is why, Chris, I'm saying, like, I'm happy to stick around all night, but I don't want to get to the point where you guys are like, okay,
Just so much fun.
How about the game?
Dan, do question 12. You have question 12 on there. I don't think we've done that one yet.
12. Yeah, that's actually a really good one. So, you've been at the game a long time now, Dave, right? So when fans look back at your body of work, What is it now that you kind of hope becomes the core of your legacy?
Wow. It's a great question. It's a tough one. I don't know. I don't know. The problem is that I feel like there are a few special artists out there that are, like, for me, like head and shoulders special.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Simon Bisley in his prime for me is special.
Mm-hmm.
Travis Terrest, Mark Silvestri, Kevin Nolan. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one of those guys, and I wanted to be that when I started. Everybody does, and then you kind of figure out who you are. And I realized, okay, what I want to be is a good, competent artist. I love what I do, and I want it to be as good as I can possibly make it. It's really important to me. It's incredibly important to me. But beyond that, I don't care, because, and it's not that I don't care. I can't be Bernie Wrightson. I'm never going to be. And if I try and think that way, I'll drive myself crazy. So, yeah, that's, I kind of had to let that go when I saw Travis Terrest draw. My first day of working, when I first got hired by Top Cow, my very first day, I watched Travis Terrest draw, and I realized, okay, I just need to survive. You know, that's it. Anything else is bonus.
Is there someone along the way as you were coming up that you kind of, like, somebody that just gave you the leg up that you needed at the right time, where if they hadn't, you know, things really could have gotten sideways to the point where you might not have made it?
Yeah, actually, I don't know that I would be here at all if it weren't for Kyle Hotz.
Okay.
Are you guys familiar with Kyle Hotz?
I don't know that I know him. No.
No, I don't think so.
He has done a lot of covers for, you know, Marvel and DC, and very, very good artist. And I haven't actually talked to him. I don't even know if I've ever talked to him since, but it was 92, the first year. So I went to a convention in Detroit, and I showed my work to a bunch of people, and I again thought I was awesome, you know, and I got my butt really handed to me, and most of the advice that I got was either very dismissive or just not helpful. Like, you know, nobody really gave me any kind of direction to go in that I could do anything with. And Kyle told me to get the Bridgman Guide to Life Drawing, which is a big, huge, thick book. He said, get that book, draw every single picture in there, and then close the book and draw it again. Not to say,
Wow.
you know, try and draw the whole book from, like, distant memory of what you did weeks ago. But basically, you look at the picture, close it, and then try and draw it from memory after you've done that.
Okay.
He said, you know, do that, and you'll be a totally different artist coming out of it than you were going in. And so I went home, I got that book, and I did that. And it was a lot of work. It took me a little while. It's a big book. And I was a different artist coming out of it. And it was like an actionable thing that I could do. So it also put me on the path of understanding that for me, the best way to learn, I want to say, I think for anybody, I really do think so, but, you know, we're all different. Copying something and then trying to do it yourself without looking to see what you've retained, because you can't learn anything by looking at it. There are so many artists that I like, and I think I have some kind of understanding of it, but I don't. But the minute I do a study of it and then try and draw it myself from memory, I have a much deeper understanding, and it's something that I can then take with me forever. So yeah, that gave me a foundation, not only of Bridgman, which is such a huge foundation of the way that I draw, but it also gave me a way forward with everything that I was studying. And I use that same technique to learn everything. And I don't know that I would have been here otherwise, for sure.
Jeff Houghton asks, David, I love your work on New Avengers. Have you ever been offered or wanted to do the Justice League monthly?
I don't. I'm not sure if I got offered Justice League before. I don't think so. Yeah. I don't know if I'd want to do it. I would and I wouldn't, because team books are so hard. They really can be very difficult. And the problem is that I love Batman, and give me the choice. That's kind of what I'm going to pick. And I made that choice over and over at DC. This is the problem. Like, yeah, Justice League would be fun, but the only times that I didn't do Justice League or do Batman at DC were Jeff Johns wanted to do a crossover book, so I did that, and that was Forever Evil, which was a blast. And Meredith wanted to do Wonder Woman, so I did that. Otherwise, I just worked on what I really wanted to work on, which was Batman.
Good choice.
That actually raises a good question too, though. Is there? I mean, I could ask you if you have a character where you don't feel like where it's not your long suit to do a particular character, and then the flip side of that question, but related, is do you think the publishers have ideas about which characters might not fall within your long suit, so to speak?
Oh, they do. Yeah, of course. I mean, publishers very much have an idea of, who you are as an artist, who, anybody is, and what they think they can do well. And a really good example for me, I didn't know this at the time. I found out later, but I did Ultimate X-Men with Bryan Bendis. And when I did the first cover, Ralph Macchio was my editor. He was a great editor. And he emphasized to me in painstaking detail that Spider-Man couldn't be a bulky, muscular character. It needs to be like lithe and light. Mm-hmm. And so when I drew it, I really focused on that. He's actually probably a little too thin when looking back on the cover that I did, but that was because Ralph was he's really making a point of it. And he made such a point of it because editorial and Bendis were concerned that I couldn't do it because it's just not what I was known for. And so they were a little bit worried I was going to draw a Spider-Man that just really didn't work. And so I did that thing, and they were comfortable enough that okay, it worked. And so I got the job. No one told me that until later. I was auditioning for the book that I thought I already had. But I mean, that's how it goes, So, and I'm sure there have been other times that, maybe because I'm obviously not privy to what editors are talking about, in their editorial meetings, but I'm sure there have been times when, my name might have come up for something and they're like, you know what? I don't think he's the right artist for that. Sure, it's happened. I mean, it just makes sense.
Is there a big difference in the industry as far as what each artist is doing? Like, do certain artists get paid more for inking versus coloring or just penciling? Or is it more like a flat type, equal type thing?
Oh no. There's a lot of variety in how things are paid out. So generally speaking, penciling is going to pay more than inking, and inking will pay more than coloring.
Really?
But coloring will pay more than inking or penciling if you are the colorist that every single person wants, and they really want let's say, for instance,
all right, good. If you would color your own work, which you kind of have been experimenting now with the colors and stuff, would that something that would interest you, just to have a bigger payday?
No, I don't like working on the computer. Not I don't have a philosophical problem with it. I just don't enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Painting, I enjoy.
Okay.
So, but I'll tell you this. There are times I managed to get them to agree to let me to paint something by saying, "Look, I'll just paint it. You don't even have to pay me extra." That's how if I said, "Oh, it's going to cost this much extra," they would say, "Yeah, no, just draw it." Because there's no value added to me painting something, unfortunately. If I was Alex Ross, yeah, but we're not.
Okay.
It should be. I got to see your long Halloween cover that you did. Jason had brought it in New York, and he showed us.
Yeah, that was nice.
Like, yeah, you should be paid more for that. That's freaking phenomenal.
Well, thank you. I don't mind because you know what? First of all, I just love painting, and it's nice to get it out there. And you know, it's not just about the money, but also about the money. Generally speaking, paintings sell for more. So unless I do a painting that nobody buys, it makes it worth it anyway. But yeah, like Greg Capullo is. I don't know, so I'm comfortable saying this because I have no idea what he makes. You know, I wouldn't want to start talking about an artist where I actually know what they make. Mm-hmm. Not that I know what anybody's making generally, but I could tell you definitively that Marvel and DC have a tiered rate system where you'll make X amount of dollars for like a tier 3 book, X amount of dollars for tier B and tier A. And that's pretty much a hard and fast rule. Well, Greg Capullo is not playing by those rules. I'll tell you
that right now. He's his own thing. I love it.
Yeah. He's a fun guy to talk to.
Yeah, you don't have to contribute to the conversation at all. And he's like Tom McFarlane for me that way. Like they're real talkers, and I could just sit there and listen all day. They crack me up. That's great.
It was really great. We were at MegaCon, and him and Scott came to our hotel bar, and so we sent over a drink, and they came over and talked to us for a little bit. So that was really neat. Just a great bunch of guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I used to see Greg all the time. I was with Comic Sketch Art.
Yes.
And that's who represents Greg and Scott Snyder. And now that I'm with Essential Sequential, that is one thing that is kind of sad is, you know, there's some people that I just don't see as much because we sit in different places. It's amazing how, you know, I see Arthur Adams a lot more. That's pretty cool, you know, but yeah, I don't see Greg as much. I need to go back and say,
it was really funny. What was it, Eric? A couple years ago, Capullo and Snyder were both on separate books, and so they usually always have them together. But at that show, I think it was in New York, they had them at two separate, completely opposite locations, and it was so weird not to see them together because they're usually always together.
I think I asked Greg that, and he said something funny. I forget his exact quote. It was something like, well, I don't know, maybe it wasn't funny, but he was like, "Hey, no, Scott's working on DC. I'm working on like Venom right now or something like that." No. But he said it. Yeah, how he is. He says everything kind of in a funny way when you're speaking with him.
I have no doubt they'll be on something together again soon enough. And no, I have no idea. It's not like there's no inside knowledge there, but I'm sure.
Yeah, I would assume that he would do something with Absolute Batman at some point. I just think that would be such a natural combo there. It would be neat to see what he would do with that.
Is there any oh, sorry. Okay.
Well, I was going to say Absolute Batman's a risky project to take on because you have to compete with Nick Dragotta, who's made it such an iconic, like his take on it is iconic. And so the minute, like for me, if I was thinking, hey, do I want to do Absolute Batman? I'd be thinking, do I want to try and compete with that? Yeah. And I would have some serious, soul searching to do before I just said, yeah, sure. Why not? Greg, I think he's fine. He can do it.
Blake Wildcat says, I can tell you whatever they are paying you isn't enough.
Well, I agree. And thank you.
David, this is freaking awesome.
Well, thank you. I'm sorry. I'm taking too long. I knew this would happen.
Oh.
No, don't. Hey, number one, don't apologize. Again, this is what we're all here for, just to talk to you and get a chance to see your process. It's just, it's always amazing. I've watched you draw hundreds of things, and it's just from just a simple pencil, just quick sketches to this. Like, it's just unbelievable, the process.
But you see how it all builds. Like, I don't have to think about any of the detail stuff that I'm doing when I'm doing the initial layout. And then when I'm doing the just the pencil, the pencil and then the ink, I'm not thinking about the shadow. I'm just thinking about the drawing. And so it's like compartmentalizing the tasks enough that it makes it really easy to to do. Like right now, all I have to think about is just softening things with rendering and doing that. I'm not having to think about the drawing at all. I think if you try and do everything at once, Travis Tress would do that, by the way. He would draw an eye like detailed and then just fan out. It's like a crazy person.
Would you ever come back as like a full-time? I know Jimenez right now is working on Batman, but would you like ever come back and do more work for them as far as drawing like the covers and maybe insides and stuff like that?
I mean, I would like to.
Yeah.
The problem is not as much as I would like to be where I am. And this is always, it's like, yeah, anytime you make a choice, you're eliminating other choices. And I wish it weren't that way, but I'm working with Robert Kirkman. He's a good friend. He's a great writer. I'm getting to help create stories. No, well, that's not true. I'm getting to create characters for stories that I believe in, and we have some very cool stuff planned that I'm really excited about and I really want to be a part of. And the downside of that is there are projects that I just can't do. So
there's only so much time in the day.
So you'll like pop in every once in a while and do like a variant cover. How does that work? Do they come to you and say like, hey, David, you want to do like a variant for this?
Yes. I don't know how likely it is that I'll be able to do that ever again. I don't know. I'm very committed to Robert, so it's going to make it really difficult to. When I was working on Skinbreaker for a very long time, I actually wasn't under contract, and then I ultimately did sign a contract. And so I wasn't, because I was doing like, well, that one Batman statue that you have with the Batman Who Laughs, I wasn't under contract when I drew that. And yeah.
And then you had another one recently. It was Batman fighting Joker. I think there was one with Batman and Robin. I think that's one that you might have painted.
Yeah, that one was a couple years ago. Some of them were a couple years ago.
Okay. Feels like it was the other day to me.
I actually was under contract when I did those, and I kind of cheated and I got busted.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Shh, we won't talk about that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm very committed to Robert, and I don't see that changing. So I think, but we have some cool stuff coming up.
Like you're saying, we got lucky with that absolute cover, basically.
Well, I got lucky with it, that's for sure. I would love to do more, and that actually really does bother me. Not being able to do that is, I felt the same way when I was at Marvel. I was having a great time. I love Marvel, but I wanted to do Batman. As a matter of fact, I did Moon Knight because I wanted to do Batman, and I was under contract at Marvel. So
nice. Yep,
that's fun.
Mm-hmm. Good answer. Oh, line work is phenomenal.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of artists are trying to like move on to doing their own title, I guess, just to have the ownership to it. Like, going with one of the guys you taught, Jason Fabok, it moving to like Ghost Machine. It seems like a lot of artists went over there as well. So,
yeah. I am very torn. Like it does. The idea of not being able to do Batman, I kind of went through, I don't know what I should say. Whatever.
Yeah, I might be diving too much into the business. So
yeah, because
don't feel comfortable answering anything.
I had to go through some decisions just recently, like what I wanted to do and what I wanted to do. And yeah, we had some conversations basically along the lines of, we're committed to each other long term.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which is great to see.
Yes.
Yep. A lot of benefit to that.
I mean, it's great to see.
Yeah, it's good to see guys staying around, like guys that we enjoyed over, since we're, whatever it's our childhood, whatever, however old you start, getting into comics, that are still doing the characters that we love. It kind of sucks that they all kind of parted ways. Those other guys.
Yeah, I've had people say, well, you never want to look back. You always want to move forward. And I'm like, man, no. I'd be more than happy to look back at Batman again. Are you kidding? Come on. It was fun. I'm all for it, but
You mentioned that Batman's your favorite. Tell us why. Why do you gravitate toward him? I think we all have our answers, but I'd love to hear yours.
I like darker characters. A big part of so I like heavy metal. I'd be lying if I said I like it as much now as when I was young. Like, it can be a little much listening to Slayer 24 hours a day.
How about AC/DC? They're my favorite band.
Yeah, they're great. I saw them in concert once 15 years ago, probably. They were amazing. So yeah, I love Metallica, Megadeth, all that stuff, and that's all kind of darker stuff. I mean, this is like a kind of our era, we
Yes.
grew up with that stuff, so I naturally kind of gravitate to that sort of thing anyway. When I drew in high school, if I did draw, I didn't do it enough, but I would draw like Eddie from Iron Maiden.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, of course.
You see, they're nominated to go into the Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
About time.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's great.
what everybody's saying.
It's one thing I loved about when they came out with the Batman Who Laughs character. He was all about like heavy metal, like rock and roll type stuff.
You know what I love about the character too? It's such a iconic looking, great character. Like that's a character that's going to have long-term impact, like so many characters get created and a year later, an issue later, everybody forgets. That one, that'll stick around. And Greg Capullo just designed that like on the page, like, yeah, there you go.
It was a great idea. I mean,
yeah, it's phenomenal. He is a cut above, I think. He's just one of those guys. Like, I've got my list of people that I really think are, great. And he's definitely very high up on that list for me.
I was gonna say I have to give another shout out. The Batman Who Laughs that you did for me is also one of my favorites. I love the shadow on it. It's just phenomenal. And I also want to thank you for the Hush that you just did. That was also incredible. I absolutely love it.
yeah.
Okay, I'm glad. Good.
This might top it a little bit, but the details in that newer Hush piece was insane.
I was worried I got a little carried away. I spent a long time on that one, and there are times that can almost be a problem. So,
No, I love the background and the shadow he's coming out of. It just so good. I love it. But let's be honest, I love all of them. I can't. It's like picking your favorite kid. But man, this again, I cannot thank you enough for this wall.
well, yeah, my pleasure. And thank you. I mean, really, it's really nice to see them all up and like all together. And I don't get to see that all the time. Like a lot of times,
Like
I know I saw it work and it goes in a drawer, So
that's what I was going to ask. Like a lot of people, they just assume like, oh, you have the biggest Batman villain Finch collection on the planet or whatever. Like, do you ever get a chance to see something like that very often? Where, and I'm sure there have been people over the years that have probably got more commissions than I have. But is it something that you see very often from time to time?
Not like your collection, no. And I've seen some decent ones, and it's always really nice. But yeah, you have the most impressive collection I've seen, and not just my stuff, just like the statues and just that the room itself, like it's pretty awesome. That is like the greatest man cave.
I was telling
I would be a fool to not invite you to come tour it if you ever want to see the cave. You have the first row ticket anytime you want.
Where are you?
Oh, sorry.
I'm in Kansas.
There's a show in Kansas.
Yeah, Planet Comic-Con is the one. It's in March in Kansas City. But
we talked about that. Well, you know what? Maybe next year. And now I'm inviting myself to. Hey, you said
He's going to Chris's house now.
I was going to say that would be a dream to have you come and tour. But yeah, that would be awesome. That'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
your 50th birthday party.
I was gonna say I turned 50 this June, so we're trying to make 50th plans for the year.
50
I'm not-
years old.
I'm not sure if it would ever work and how it would happen, but I was telling Jason, I was like, his wall should be like one of your new books that you put out. You remember you did like the Monday Night Raw book? And just put out like a whole collection. Like he literally has like, what do you have? Like how many pieces you have, Chris? Like 30?
I've got 40.
40?
This will be 44, I think.
You're like a nice size book that you can get out of.
Yeah, it really is. That's
It really
enough,
would.
actually.
I would buy one.
Yeah, just to have all of the villains like that. And again, I mean, I'm sure people would probably like the heroes too. Which again, maybe I'll do those 3 heroes if I can, whenever you have time, David. But yeah, it would make one hell of a book. I think people would love it. And that Monday Night Draw book is phenomenal.
Well, thank you. We still bring them to conventions and they do very well, which is really nice. So I thought, okay, because we did the Kickstarter for it and it did well, and I thought, great, but I don't really do business, I don't know, but Jason's got them. He's reprinted and got them for sale at conventions, and over the years, I think, because it's been out for a few years now, it does very well, which is really nice. And this is why I say it's hard for me to get too upset about, I don't get my piece of this or a piece of that. I get enough.
Yeah, we joke around. We say Chris has bought David many goats on the farm.
Yeah, I think it was what was it, Jason, that said it's like, oh, thanks for paying for that year of college or whatever it was. I'm like, yeah, my pleasure. This is the dream come true to have this on my wall. It's awesome.
And in return, I get to sit and draw pictures. I mean, really, like,
It's awesome.
It's a win-win.
it really is.
Look at that. Look at that.
Amazing.
Oh, he needs. Yeah. I wanted to switch to the smaller thing for his eyes. I should have done it for these ones. As a matter of fact, let me clean it up a little bit. I was fighting with it because I'm using a pen that's just a little too heavy for that.
It's amazing. Just that one little line that you added on the fish's eye instantly made him look more evil. It's crazy. Just one little brush stroke.
It's a lot of evil in the eyes.
That fish is so great. This is better than I could have ever imagined it turning out. I absolutely love it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's actually really nice to be able to just sit here and do this live. I'm sorry for taking so long. That you guys are really, I have to say, great with questions. I know for me, when I do live streams and I have a guest, by like an hour and 50 minutes in or so, I'm floundering. I don't know what to ask anymore.
I was most worried about asking questions that were repetitive, like the same thing over and over again. Like, oh, did we already say that? Did we already, But I feel like it's been fairly well-rounded from the chat tonight.
Yeah, it's been great.
Well, Chris, it's funny you should say that, because I was just thinking of one that I thought, has this come up? I couldn't. But okay, so Batman's the favorite character. David, do you have a favorite cover? A Batman cover? What, maybe in the Dark Knight run, or a favorite that stands out for you?
It's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know what I did it for. And okay, so you know what? It's a deceased cover.
Oh, okay.
And it's Batman, and he's kind of punching down, and they're like zombie hands clawing at him, and I just really
I know exactly which cover you're talking about. I don't remember the issue, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I'm curious to see. I forget. I'm gonna look it up.
I was gonna say that's a great piece.
I don't know.
I really like the cover. Dan, I can't remember what cover it is, but I've got the deckled edge print where it's got the orange splatters.
Oh yeah, that's real good.
I love that cover.
Okay, I think I found it. Well, it's deceased #1. Is this it there?
Yeah, can you hold it up?
Yes. Yep,
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
Yep. That's the one.
So yeah, deceased #1.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a really good with the red. So good.
just like that one. I don't know.
This one's pretty cool too. It was a black and white version. It has like a splash of color on the.
Yeah, that's the one I like. I mean, the colors were great, but my preference is always I like the black and white stuff.
Because that's what you drew. I mean, that's what it looked like when you drew it.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Actually, that looks way better to me.
You got to tell Jason that needs to be a print that you have at your shows.
I don't know if I've ever seen this cover.
I want to say I think we did that as a print because I really wanted to do it like a few years ago.
Okay,
but nobody bought it. So.
Oh no!
Yeah.
So who decides that? Do you decide that, or does Jason handle all of that? Like to say, hey, let's make this one a print, or let's do this one as a limited edition deckled edge. Like how does that work?
We talk about it, and I really try to keep my emotions out of it, because I know just because I like a picture doesn't mean that it's inappropriate. Like it doesn't mean other people will. So I try to be pretty reasonable, and and then sometimes we'll do a print and it just won't move. And then sometimes we'll do one and I think, wow, I hate this thing, like this is not what I would have done. And it does really well. And so I just keep my mouth shut. So yeah, that one's my favorite one, but I know it didn't do well I don't know. I think it's, for a print, you want an iconic picture of the character looking like somber, looking, action shots don't necessarily make the best prints.
Mm-hmm.
And
that makes sense.
The zombie hands aren't anything that people really like. People love Deceased, but it's not, it's not anything that I'm particularly known for. Anyway, it was a bad call for a few reasons for print, and it didn't sell. I don't consider it to be like a, people just hate the picture, but it's Batman 700 is much more appropriate print because it's just, it's just Batman, and there you go. It's like a pinup shot. So
how is the hero and villain print gone? It seems like, it's had a couple runs. I know it had the larger one and then the smaller one. Is it done pretty well for you guys? Yeah,
really well. I don't know if we have it for sale right now. We've done a couple formats and they've sold, so it's done well. I don't know.
I really like, there was one that you did for somebody that you just added I think it was the first time you had done it, where you'd added a remark and it was the Mad Hatter, where you kind of added it off to the side, and it was so perfect, just adding the little remarks onto the actual art. It was really smart.
Yeah, I remember that one. Now, those are all by request. It's not my idea to do it, but I remember doing that one. And yeah, I think
maybe you shared it on Instagram. I think it's awesome.
He's not really one of the most well-known, but it's pretty awesome.
He's one of those characters where I wish that they would do a little bit more with him, because I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of possibilities for him.
Yeah, and he's visually, like he's this is the hardest thing to do with character design, I think, is to come up with something that looks cool, it looks interesting, and also is immediately recognizable as that character and nobody else. And he's got that going on. And yeah, I'd love to see more with him. Everyone's come up with their own characters,
Yeah. And you obviously did some with him with Tweedledee and Tweedledum and White Rabbit, obviously.
Yep. Yeah, that was fun. I need to look at it. I haven't seen inside those issues in ages. I see them at conventions, and it's one thing that's a shame. I put so much work into, just for me, I put so much work into the inside of a book, and the cover is only one thing, and then after a couple of years it's the only thing I see, and I can't even remember what I drew anymore. I remember when I was starting, Mark Silvestri got artwork back from Marvel, like ancient stuff that they just found, I don't know, like under a file cabinet somewhere or something. And we were talking about one of the pages, and I don't know how it came up, but basically he said he remembers that he drew the page, but he doesn't remember drawing it, And I couldn't believe it. Like, how could you possibly not remember drawing? Like, it's so much work to do a page. You spend all day on it. How could you not remember? But at the time, I had only been around for like 2 weeks. So, you know. But yeah, by now, I could see how you could forget.
Do you ever have people like have you sign in the interior of the books?
Yeah. If somebody has, you know, a specific scene that resonates, that definitely happens. It's less common now than it used to be. Truthfully, for the most part, more, I don't know. You know, I think more often than not, when people get comics signed, like it tends to be the same issues. Like I'll see the first appearance of Death, the picture that's behind me there, or things like, basically it's stuff that is up on like a collector site is something that has value. And I see those a lot. And so like issue 2s I'll almost never see. I always see issue 1 of whatever it is. But
it's funny how it changed over the years, because like back in the day, they used to always sign the inside, and then it used to be like you're defacing the cover if you sign the cover. Now everybody's into getting the cover signed.
It's because of CGC.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
You can't.
It's CGC, and it's I used to sign issue 2, 3 just as much as issue 1. Maybe not quite as much, but a lot. Now that we're charging for signatures, though, people want value out of their signature. So, you know, that's a bit of a self-created problem. Hard to complain too much about that when we caused it.
I gotta say, Chris, I'm very jealous of that piece right there.
It looks awesome.
I was gonna say it's again another dream piece to add to the wall. I can't believe it. It's so exciting. Again, just everything you do is just I'm speechless, and I can't thank you enough.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you very much. I'm sorry that it took so long on this. It's 11 o'clock. We started at 8. Yeah, I kept it. Oh man, I'm sorry for keeping you guys up so late.
Are you kidding? This is
I was going to say again, this is a dream of a lifetime for everybody in this panel. And again, I'm sorry. I feel bad for keeping you up this late.
Well, I would have been up anyway. Once I'm working, I cannot stop drawing something once I start. It drives me crazy to do that. So yeah, if we stopped the stream, I'd still be working on it. So you guys can keep me up at all.
Well, I'm glad we got to see you finish it then. That makes me very happy. That's awesome.
David, it's 8 o'clock for me. I'm in California. So
That's early.
This is usually the time of the show where Jeff goes eats dinner. So, you know, I'm sure he's probably hungry.
a little bit.
But anyway, anything else you guys want to say before we wrap it up tonight?
No, only that really appreciate this and look forward to seeing you in a few weeks at MegaCon in Florida.
Oh, he's not. I don't think you're at MegaCon, are you this year?
He's not going? Oh, that's
Oh
right.
yeah, no, yeah.
Didn't
Yeah.
know OAX, right?
I'll be in Seattle not this weekend, but next weekend, and then C2E2. I
that's
think
right.
in another 2 weeks after that.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well,
Next.
Anyway, Eric, did you want to say anything?
No.
Okay.
Spent more than enough time. Just thank you for taking the time and staying with us for so long. It's been incredible.
Yeah, well, you guys too. Thanks for bearing with me while I drew it. I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. Great questions, which I really appreciate. And also, everybody watching, everybody that's still watching after I drug this out for hours, really appreciate it. Thank you.
I think we still have
119 people watching right now, so this is really great. And again, I just can't thank you enough for taking time. It just means the world to me. And again, thank you for providing us so much just amazing original art. I know there's so many fans that, again, just like that line up and they're so excited to see you and meet you and get art from you. So thank you for everything you do for the community. And again, we can't thank you enough for coming on the show tonight.
Well, yeah, thanks again. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, with that said, guys, have a wonderful night. Thanks for watching. Please please subscribe Dave's YouTube channel. If you haven't done so, you can check him out on Monday Night Draw, which I highly recommend. Phenomenal show. Great bunch of the flockers, as they call themselves. I love it.
Yep.
And anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in a couple weeks for the next Rogues Gallery Live. Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.
Take care.